Pulling out the coupe at the lot. Told him fuck 12, fuck SWAT. Busting all the bells out the box. I just hit a lick with the box. Had to put the stick in the box. Pour up the whole damn field. I'ma get lazy. I got the mojo deals. We been trapping like the 80s.
Out in the fields where the skies are wide. Talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space. Traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight. Just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeeze so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine. Spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plates, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path is clear. Exploring the cosmos, our future's here.
Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to the stream, everybody. Good to see you guys. Glad everyone's here hanging out with us tonight. We are on Saturday night or Sunday morning if you are somewhere on the other side of the world. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Tonight is going to be a science live stream. I hope you guys like my shirt. Hopefully it does some optical illusion stuff like my last striped shirt did. Hey, Diego. Hey, Crypto Alchemist. Good to see you. Hey, Dave. Nice to see you. Dorian Kootenai. I saw you jump on early. PJ Mike. Nice to see you. Diego says free energy. Yes, free energy indeed, everybody. We're going to be talking about free energy tonight. We are going to be talking about, we're going to go through a video that was sent to me earlier today that I watched that blew me away. Kind of up there with the Thomas Bearden stuff as well. And then we are going to look at the wormhole, or sorry, the counterfactual quantum teleportation protocol science paper as well. It was a short review of it. So right off the bat, let's take a look at a couple of the posts that I've made. We'll watch a quick clip about Thomas Bearden that's a few minutes long, and we'll talk a little bit about free energy because I think people have questions on it. So if you have questions on free energy or any of that stuff, bring those questions here right now. This is the moment. And then I will try to answer them while we watch this clip, and then we'll get into some of the fun stuff as well. It's going to be awesome. Also, this is probably going to be the last stream while I have this background up. I almost planned on flipping it all around here right before this, but I just ran out of time. I do have the 4 orbs sign over here. It's not on the wall yet, but it is looking fire. So if you are in the Discord and you've probably seen the picture I posted in the Discord of the 4 orbs sign, it looks really, really good. Like, it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited for it. My only concern is that it might be like too bright. We'll see how it all plays out. I may have to adjust the lighting if necessary. I'm not going to go. Somebody asked, can you highlight and reiterate the circumstances of the arrest and the leaker and the satellite? I'm not going to go over that tonight. If you want to know more about Edward C. Lin, you can search through my Twitter profile for Edward C. Lin, and you will find I did like 4 or 5 posts about him in the past. I don't plan on doing another one real quick, but shouldn't be hard for you to find those out there. So go ahead and search that. On mobile, it's a lot easier to do a search than it is for if you're on PC. But if you're mobile, it's really, really easy. So just search there and find that. You can repost it or whatever. Tonight, we're mostly going to be just talking about free energy. Not going to be an MH370 investigative night tonight. Crypto says, what's the highest over Unity product available open source blueprint? Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute as well. Yeah, I'm real casual tonight. Actually, my hair's looking good tonight, chat. It's looking real good tonight. I'm not really a person who cares about what their hair looks like, but damn, I don't know. Got that windswept hair look, you know? I guess it's because I was out all day today. I did post a cool picture of Lulu today. We went out for a hike, and she was loving it. It's always super cute when Lulu, she goes and rolls in the grass every single time. I can't stop her, so I've stopped trying. And then she just gets super dirty. And then you got to bring a towel with, because if you got a husky, they're wild. And she just loves to get super dirty. Like the more white she is, the more dirty she wants to be. Okay, can you guys see this? Let's take a look here. Okay, yeah, this looks really good. Well, that's not what I'm trying to show you guys, but okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, we're gonna get into this guy here a little bit later, but I want to. Yeah, Lulu's wiped out. She was actually outside a second ago, and she wanted to come right back in because she's so tired now. She was running around the water. She can't swim either, so it's really cute when she she goes in the water. She only puts her feet in because she can't swim. So, or I mean, she probably could if she tried, but yeah. Yeah, the good news is Lulu does not roll into dead animals. She finds weird smells, though, like weird fish smells and stuff, and rolls in those. And here's a link to Edward C. Lin. There's literally like 5 posts about Edward C. Lin. I found so much stuff about Edward C. Lin, the leaker, that I kept having to make more and more and more posts. Like, if you guys search through all the news articles from like 2014 to 2016 about Edward C. Lin, it's crazy how much stuff. And each news article has like a different piece in there about this guy, which is why it was so incredible. That's why when I say this stuff on the podcast, like, it's piecing together like a dozen different news reports. Some of them have different quotes, etc. And then we found the appeals related to Edward C. Lin as well, and there was more evidence in there. Like, Edward C. Lin is the guy, man. He's the guy for sure. Okay, yeah, we'll talk more about let's watch this video first. We're gonna watch the clip here first. And then I'll talk about what I can tell about my plans and what I'm trying to do to prove free energy is real. I'll answer questions for you guys as well, so that I'm as open and honest as I can be about it. Pretty wild. Here's an interesting question. How would you picture the future of transportation means in mundane daily life more generally? I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know if you mean like in the future or what. Okay, here we go. So this here is a video that I have had up on my Twitter thing, or like in one of my background pages for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I found it after the Y-Files free energy episode, because in the Y-File episode, he goes, here's a real free energy generator. And I heard Thomas Bearden narrating, and I went and found it, Floyd Sweet, and I found the full video. And I only like clipped the first like 10 minutes or so, and I clipped it down to about 4 minutes, which is how long this video is. And it goes over all the key points right here as well. So this is a real free energy device. I looked through, there was no debunks out there at all. In fact, one of the only things I found was a Reddit post from like a year ago, and people were still commenting on it a few like weeks ago and days ago. And the top post says that just like this has to be fake because the second law of thermodynamics. That's the debunk. And the funny part about that is we're literally going to rewrite the second law of thermodynamics because the second law of thermodynamics is wrong. It's not really so much wrong as that once you incorporate the ether and you open up your system, then the second law of thermodynamics changes and has to be reinterpreted. So this is again where, and I'm going to be coming off harsh when it comes to mainstream academics. The reality is mainstream academia is wrong and the textbooks in the United States are wrong. That's just the true reality of the situation. I feel confident I'm saying that just as bluntly as I'm saying it. It's 100% clear that we do not understand everything about physics today. And the people that think we do are just straight up idiots. That's just the true reality of it. They're just idiots. There are big gaps in our understanding of physics. And we have had very little progression over the last 25, 30 years. And that should alarm people because in the early 1900s, we were making huge leaps and bounds. And now all of a sudden, everyone's just totally content with not understanding what dark energy and dark matter and what quantum fluctuations in the vacuum are and virtual particles and all this stuff. Everyone's just totally content with having like no understanding of what this stuff means. And the answer is very, very simple. The Higgs field is the ether. There's an ether. There's unlimited negative energy in the ether. This will solve not all, but most of the problems we have right now with physics that we don't understand. So that's it, guys. I mean, just throwing it right at you. So here we go. Let's go ahead and watch this. So this is a device that has not been debunked. And most of the criticisms either come down to the fact that it was never mass produced or that like some guy looked into it and wasn't too comfortable with it. Like that's it. That's all. That's the debunks. So when we're talking about free energy stuff, like if you were paying attention to the video we did last week where Thomas Bearden talks about the Meg, he explains why it's never been popularized. Like these people get suppressed or they have people come in and they buy up the rights to it and then they just shelve it. People literally get disappeared. A lot of different reasons why it's never been commercialized. Plus, it's expensive. There's only a small number of people that know how to tune the devices to a degree where you can make it actually work. It's not as simple as just putting some magnets together and then then it works. Like there's specific configurations and resonance that you need to achieve in order to get it to work correctly. And even Thomas Bearden talks about this. And the better it's set up, the more efficient it's going to be. And you need it to be efficient enough where it's actually, producing more energy than is coming in, and it's getting that extra energy from the ether, and it's feeding that energy back into a system where it becomes self-sufficient. So that requires a high degree of specialization and specialized skill sets. Now, the beauty of this is that we are in 2024 now, and we're getting to the part where we have AI and we have potentially advanced tools that we can use that might be able to make this something where it goes from a high skill set requirement to a lower skill set requirement. And that's how I envision. I'm a business major. I've loved economics. I'm a marketing, finance, and international business major, triple major. And when I look at this kind of stuff, I go, I think I can figure out a way to market this. I think depending on what the cost point is, like this could actually be a product that, we can sell to people, that people can get into the ground floor. And that's how I've been approaching this. So we're going to take a look at that. Okay, here's the question. How would you picture the future of transportation means in mundane daily life if we had free energy? I don't think things are going to change as much as you guys imagine. A lot of people think, oh, well, this will change everything. But there's costs associated with building these devices as well. What I think would change is that transportation would stop there's going to be more electric power, right? And because really, even free energy is being converted to electricity. And then I think that we would just get rid of pollution, for the most part, but we're going to change it from a different kind of pollution. Now our pollution will be like, we have anti-gravity devices that are powering everybody's houses. And we just have to be careful. Like we want to make sure there's no negative side effects to having these things running You know, maybe it has to be like in a basement, buried underneath the ground where it's not near you or something like that. I don't know yet. So I don't think that there will be major changes from that perspective, but I do think that it will end our reliance on fossil fuels. It will allow us to be completely independent of the government when it comes to power, which is why I think that's just incredible. And then the last thing I'll say before we dig into this, and then we'll answer some more questions after this short video, is that this has really been an investigation that I never would have thought even free energy is possible without looking at it in the MH370 videos. And a lot of people say, like, how does this lead to free energy when you look at that? And, you know, I've thought about it a lot, and it's like, well, you need the ether to explain how a wormhole can be real, because we need negative energy, and we see negative energy. We're looking at an endothermic event in the MH370 videos. And because we're looking at that endothermic event, and I'll just play this clip real quick. This clip I'm going to show you is probably the most important clip in the history of the world right here. And I don't say that lightly, because what we're looking at here is the first ever publicly available recorded wormhole in high definition thermal video. That right there, that is the most important clip. That says this is the most important scientific clip in the history of the world right here, because it proves that the ether is real, that there's an extra dimension. It proves that we can create a wormhole, and it proves that we can produce negative energy, an absorption of energy, is what we're seeing from these videos, as well as the lines in front of the orbs as well. So once you begin to understand what this really means from a scientific perspective, this is what leads to free energy. And it took me months to even come to that conclusion. But once I realized that this was all about free energy, everything made sense. This is why they're hiding it. It's not even just the anti-gravity technology or like the history of where that we got this technology, which, by the way, the more and more I look at this video, the less I think that it's aliens. The more I think that we have had this technology and we've been using aliens as a cover-up for us having this technology, which if you had asked me a year ago, I would have said the exact opposite. And this makes sense now why even congressmen and stuff like that and people that witness these orbs and stuff in the sky, they all think it's aliens because this technology seems so advanced. And that's exactly what the government wants. The government wants it for it to seem like it's totally impossible that we could have developed this technology, because that's how they keep it hidden. It's messed up, man. Okay, let's get to the video. How do we know that the MH370 videos were recorded in 2014? First of all, I saw one of the videos in 2014, as well as thousands of other people. And then we have them on the Wayback Machine as well. So if you go to my evidence list, you can see the Wayback Machine. In fact, the original uploader, you can only find it on the Wayback Machine from 2014. So and it's not just a matter of, because like people could argue, well, they could manipulate the Wayback Machine, which we don't really have any proof of that at the moment, although it seems like it could be possible. But I literally saw the videos in summer of 2014. I saw the drone video, and many people saw both the videos in 2014. They were uploaded by several different accounts. So there's no question whatsoever the videos are from 2014, just as a heads up. But good question on that. Okay, let's watch this.
Little tour for a demonstration on just how straightforward and just how nicely the vacuum triode is working. So we have a 120 volt fan. As you can see, it's turning at good power. It is providing quite a breeze, and it's real usable power. Now we'll turn around, and here is just coming into view. You see 5 100-watt lamps, ordinary garden variety household lamps.
You guys can hear this, right?
Lit. So there's 500 watts of very real power here.
Okay, so this guy, so Tom Bearden, and this is Floyd Sweet. You guys can hear this, right? Please confirm. They're running a fan and 5 100-watt bulbs there. So it's over 500 watts of output. And what we're going to find out here in a minute is there's only like a milliamp or a third of a milliamp coming input. So basically almost nothing going into this system and 500 watts coming out of this system.
Here, again, coming right out of the vacuum. And you see the assembly of very large meters and show you the kind of power amplification that is being achieved by the vacuum triode. And we want to go up and show you some instrumental measurements.
So this thing's called, what is this damn thing called? The vacuum, I have it written down here somewhere. Vacuum triode amplifier is what they decided to call this thing. It loses weight in proportion to the amount of negative energy generated. People also ask what negative energy is. Negative energy is still just energy, but think of it as like energy that's trapped in the ether, that's potentially producing like the opposite kind of forces that we experience in our daily life. But you can extract that energy from the ether, and it just becomes the same as any usable energy that we would have anywhere else. So negative energy is a little bit of a misnomer because I think people think it's like the opposite of normal energy, some kind of weird exotic substance. But really, it's simpler than that. And I think that's a really important thing to understand, is this idea that there's this sea of energy that's out there that we don't see, that's hidden from us. That's the negative energy.
I want to show you how much we're actually putting in to the grid signal of the triode first.
Okay, and this is something I want to highlight here as well real quick. And this goes back to one of the questions, right? People say, why don't you open source it? Also, I think people will say, I want to see it. Everybody wants to see it for themselves. This is a video right here that we're watching right now where they're showing all the instrumentation, all the measurements, and people still don't believe it's real. So there's no level of standard. Like, what people need to realize out there is that there's nothing that you can do and show people that will convince them that this is real. Just like with the MH370 videos, we have more than enough evidence to absolutely prove beyond a doubt that those videos are real. But even with that, there are many people out there, all the debunkers out there, are still just lying, insisting that it's fake. That's the exact same thing that will happen with respect to any free energy device. You put the schematics out there, people will come out and say that it's fake. You'll have people making YouTube videos claiming it's not possible. This is just the reality of it, guys. I'm just giving you the hard truth here. You show them the literal measurements and the devices, and they'll say that you're cheating. They're going to say that you put a battery somewhere or whatever, right? Literally, no matter what you do, there's no way to open source this information. That's why when people say you need to open source it, that like Z Jalapeno says, you are looking at it. This is why, guys, but here's another one that you're just looking at. Like, I want to show you something else. Like, this is how crazy the world is. This video right here that we're looking at in a second, I don't know why it's not coming up. There it is. You're looking at LK99. You're looking at room temperature superconductivity. You're just staring right at it. You're staring at the Meissner effect and flux pinning, the magnets on the side here. This is just absolute proof. And yet it doesn't matter. Like, there's no wires connected to this or anything. This is just absolute proof. You're seeing it with your eyes. And yet, despite the fact that people are seeing it with their eyes, they don't believe it's real. I show science influencers this on Twitter. People that are like supposed experts that everybody goes to about superconductivity and stuff. They have no answer. Like, you show people this and their minds just shut down. Because for a lot of people, it doesn't matter what they see or what's true. It's a matter of who told them and how much authority they have over them. That's the stupid ass world that we live in today, right? So once again, what people see when you're staring right at it, that's not even good enough. In this video, we're staring right at the meters that prove that what he's saying here is true. Literally doesn't matter. This video has been out there for, this is 1987. This is 1987, guys. What is that? 30-something years ago? 37 years ago? Something like that? This is from 1987. And still nobody thinks it's real, even though we have a literal video where you can just straight up stare at it. So open sourcing it is not the answer. I wish that it was. I really wish that it was. And that's the reason why I'm not going to try to open source it. Also because I think I would probably get disappeared. Again, that's just the truth. So yeah, what was that floaty object? That floaty object was LK99 or some variant of LK99. That is a room temperature superconductive rock that's floating freely in the sky. Also, my shirt is looking money right now. Look at this. Okay, Lulu, it's okay. Okay, so let's keep going. Where's the play button?
We're going to come right in on this meter here and try to give you a close shot of the actual reading of this meter. Okay, and reading the meter, it shows you that we're putting in right at 10 volts. It's oscillating between 9.5 and 10 volts. That one is really a 10. It's on the, that's a 10 volt. Okay, we're going over now and show you the amperage that we're putting in. And hold your hats. That 31.2 is actually 31.2 microamps. That is a voltmeter, and it shows that we're putting out about 112.5 volts coming out.
Okay, 112 volts are coming out. I think he said a third of a milliamp or a third of a milliwatt of power input, and 112 volts are coming out. 500 watts are coming out.
Out of the vacuum triode. That's the plate voltage, so to speak, that's output by the device. Coming over to the next meter. This is a watt meter, and you divide it by half, and you see it's reading 1 kilowatt. And so this one here, we'll get on the right meter. It's reading 1 full kilowatt, so divide that by 2. And so you see that we're putting out 500 watts of actual measured power. The entire output is being taken from the energy of the vacuum, output by the device, and the grid signal to do that is less than 1/3 of a milliwatt. This is real usable power. It's stable. It is not transient. It is not noise. And it is not any other kind of spurious effect. This is a real effect. It's all coming from that little tiny box sitting behind the 500 watts of power. Behind the lamps, that little box is putting out all.
So that box you see right here in the background is the generator. This is what's causing it. So there's some kind of magnet resonance system in here that's causing all this to happen. So in order to think that this is fake, you have to imagine that there's some kind of battery system in here that's running 500 watts that we don't see, and that this is all fake. But this is Thomas Bearden, who is narrating this, who we find to be highly credible. He's definitely not some kind of scam artist or anything like that.
All of that power, well over 500 watts, and yet it is receiving less than 1/3 of a milliwatt of input power. This is April
pretty good to me.
30th, 1987, at about 10:30 p.m. in the home of the inventor of the very first vacuum triode. This is a most historical occasion.
Guys, I freaking love Thomas Bearden. What a G this guy is, man. Absolutely love this guy. I think he was the real deal. Okay, so some questions in the chat. Can you do simple videos to start off with people with no background in electronics, explain each individual component? Not really. You guys can check that stuff out on other. I'm not an electrical engineer. You can check out other electrical engineering videos if you want to know that. Here's what this comes down to, guys. At the end of the day, nobody really cares how it works as long as it works, right? The number of people that care how it works is almost infinitesimal. The people that care how it works are the ones who want to debunk it, right? Those are the only people that care about how it works. If I give you a free power generator, if I give you an iPhone, do you know how this iPhone works? Of course not. Of course you don't know how this phone works, but you'll still use it every day. Do you even know how the computer works? Do you know how your camera works? Do you know how the internet works? Very few people understand how any of this stuff works. That's not what matters, right? So this is what I want to get through to everybody so that everyone can get on the same page with me. And like Charles says, open source what? It's already out there by concept. Economies of scale require larger investment. That's what needs to be open sourced. Exactly. Everything has already been out there. These are videos from 30 some years ago. Nobody's out here producing them, right? You're seeing how it works. It's not really that complicated, I don't think. There are diagrams out there as well that people have shared that I haven't posted, but there's diagrams as well. So it's not an issue of open sourcing the information. I've been open sourcing the MH370 investigation. Where has that led us? We've had no response from the government. We have debunkers paying hundreds and thousands of dollars to try to convince people that the videos aren't real, even though I've open sourced everything and proven beyond any doubt that the plane didn't crash in the South Indian Ocean and that those videos are authentic. So once again, open sourcing it is not the answer. I don't think people realize that. Like when you say open source it, I don't think you understand the framework of what we're dealing with here. This stuff is not the reason it's suppressed is because open sourcing it doesn't work. That's the whole point. The only thing that we need to do is build it and make it available and have people buy it and use it. And then what will happen is people will realize that it's real and the free market will take over. People that want free energy devices will buy free energy devices. They don't care how it works as long as it works. And eventually it'll just become a thing. So that's the plan. That's the full plan, guys. So you've heard it right there. Somebody asked, how did I come across the MH370 videos? Those videos had reemerged on Reddit, and I remember seeing one. This was back in August 7th, 2023. And they got suppressed and the conversation banned. Fake debunks came out. And this is how the government literally controls Reddit. And I don't mean that in like some kind of weird, like deep state control. No, they literally control Reddit. They literally delete people that post sensitive information about the government in real time. It's happened like 2 or 3 times now. It happened like last week with the whistleblower post that I made. May 13th, a guy posted exactly about how the private contractor system works. And his post was deleted in under a week. The government literally deletes you. The EBO scientist post, that guy got deleted in real time while he was answering questions in the comments, guys. Like, just use your head. The government is literally deleting people off of Reddit. They control 100% control the flow of information on Reddit. So anyway, that's where the videos reemerged. They're all the information's out there. Again, check out here. I'll give you guys the list of my evidence. So anyone who has a question about the MH370 for tonight, just go to the link of the evidence. My all evidence list here that I'm posting in the chat right now has everything that you need. All questions are answered, including the links to the old sources as well. Yeah, exactly. Even if it's open source, the academic people, the people who you would think understand it but don't, well, they'll just all say it doesn't work, right? So that's not even the thing either. Like, what dumb academics think that don't understand science and don't understand physics, like, doesn't matter to us. Like, the truth is, if you've been watching this investigation, you know more than most academics and PhD physicists know out there. That's not ego. That's just the truth. Because most people were taught incorrectly. And a lot of people are book smart and they're not like street smart, right? And when I mean that they just regurgitate information they absorb and they don't have the ability to think for themselves. People who have the ability to think for themselves know that, well, we don't know how to explain dark energy and dark matter. There must be something missing. So, and again, how can you be sure it really works? Great question. Exactly the thing, right? So here's how it's going to play out. I'm going to see it for myself with my own eyes. Once I see it for myself with my own eyes, then I'm going to figure out a system to market it to other people and, probably try to build a company around it and potentially solicit investors, but it probably won't be open source investment. It will probably be angel investors. Because the idea here as well is that you can't relinquish control over it because then somebody will get bought out. They will make it proprietary, and then they will like take money from the government to make sure it never goes to market. So there you go. That's the answer to that. Good news is I'm a business major, so I have some concept of how this stuff works. And I took several entrepreneurship classes as well. And I've been in business for 20 years. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have? Yeah, exactly. Ignore academia, follow the engineers. That's the way for sure. And then you have to be very careful because you need to make sure that you've been blessed by all the intelligence communities and what have you. Because if you haven't been blessed, then they'll just disappear you, frankly. And that's why you have to be careful about how you push the information out there. I'm not joking when I'm saying that I'm pushing the limit here. Like, literally pushing the limit. The moment you start to probably explain exactly how it works, and like the person who's saying go through every component, that's when your channel is going to get shut down. Your YouTube channel is going to get shut down. Maybe even my Twitter account. Like Elon Musk is keeping us afloat. If I was pushing this information on Reddit like this, I already would have been banned. In fact, my subreddit got banned within 2 weeks. So there's no question whatsoever. You guys have to realize the United States government controls all social media except for Twitter. And this is the literal reason why they banned TikTok or China from owning TikTok. Because they want to be the ones that control the flow of information. This is just straight up common sense on how it works, guys. Whether or not you believe it or not, I don't really care. Let's see. Bearden is such a hero. I agree. How far did Bearden get in commercializing this? He got pretty far, but something happened, and I don't know the full story of what happened, but something happened that prevented it from happening. I don't know if like he got threatened or what. Khalid asked from UAE, hey, from UAE, from Dubai. What allows it to happen is the idea that you can extract the energy from the ethers with the I know magnets are involved because we watched Thomas Bearden and the Meg, but the idea that you can like trap the magnetic fields within like a toroid or some kind of shape, something like that, and then you're getting excess energy that's spilling out. And then how do you trap that energy so that you can extract it? That's the high level understanding of it. Now, you can watch my other previous videos if you want to know more about that. Okay, let's see what else we got. Yeah, and part of it, so here's the other thing too as well, guys. So why are people not producing it? One thing that I want people to realize as well around this is that you could also ask, why weren't people producing electric cars 20 years ago? It's not like the technology didn't exist. Why were we not driving electric cars out everywhere? Why was it the Tesla that Elon Musk came out with Tesla? Everybody was short selling Tesla. Everybody thought that Tesla was going to fail, that it couldn't make money. Now look at Tesla. It's worth, I don't even know. I'd have to look up the value, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars if I had to guess. So you have to realize that just inventing something is not enough. And this is one of the things you learn in business is that it's not who came up with the idea, it's who found a way to market it. People thought that the Segway, I don't know if you guys remember the Segway. I think it was something Dean came up with the Segway, which was this scooter that you drove around, but it was $5,000. Nobody was paying $5,000 for a scooter. It was cool technology. It was revolutionary. And now instead, what do you have? I look around outside and I've got scooters all over the place, everywhere downtown. Scooters in every major city. You rent them, you ride them around. It's not some Segway, it's just a regular electric scooter, right? So it's the business model that makes it happen, not the idea. Very important. Yep, Yahtzee. Okay, we're going to get to the next video here in a second. I just want to see if there's anything else. Yeah, the moment it gets proven, this is funny because this is how it will work. Now, this is like me looking into the future. The moment that the business starts to work and people start to buy them, everybody will just flip. This is the same thing that happened with the war in Iraq. For some of you who are not that old, George Bush, the war in Iraq, they just completely lied about the pretenses for why we had to go fight Saddam Hussein. Said that he was making weapons of mass destruction. There was no evidence whatsoever of it. And at the time, everyone was in support. All the Republicans were in support of it. We have to go fight, and we have to go fight. We have to protect the country, blah, blah, blah. After it turned out that it was all bullshit, you couldn't find anybody that ever supported the war anymore. Everybody was like, yeah, we knew it was bullish, full of crap the whole time. It's just like, that's how it works. And that's how you know, that's how you can tell when there's disinformation, where there's this, like, they try to make it look like there's this popular support for things. You'll see it in a lot of stuff. Once you start to notice it, you'll see it everywhere as well. Yeah, that box was basically producing free energy. That was producing all the energy you see there. That's 5 100-watt bulbs and a fan that was running as well. I mean, how much stuff do you really have running in your house all the time? Right? Not that much. I've got 2 lights running and my computer and my modem. That's like the only thing I have running in my house right now. That device could right now even just run everything that I've got going on. The only thing where you start to get in trouble is maybe with like a refrigerator or an air conditioner. Those things use significantly more energy than other stuff. So here, this link is probably not going to be able to be copied very easily. This link right here is a link to all evidence if you want to know about that. Okay. Let's see what else you guys got. Oh, Felipe, thank you very much for the donation. Sell it, won't it put you in danger? It could. Yes, it very could. And I don't know if we'd even be able to get it to market, honestly. I think the way to play it out would be to try to get like certain influencers on board with it, right? And this is where I can use my newfound influencer capabilities and, go to other influencers and be like, hey, I've got a free energy device. If I get you one or if you buy one, You know, you can talk about it on your stream. You can't talk about how it works, but you can talk about it, how much you love it, stuff like that. Then next thing you know, everybody's wanting one, right? And then at that point, that's how you open source it. That's real open sourcing it. Because once again, it doesn't matter how it works. No one cares as long as it works, right? Let's say Andrew Tate just followed me, right? Let's say Andrew Tate gets one of these, or I give him one of these or something, right? And so first of all, I have to be able to make it, and then I can give it to Andrew Tate. And then Andrew Tate's going on his live streams to his 8 million followers and going, yeah, I'm running everything right now off this device that's the size of a laptop or however big that box was that you just saw right there. Next thing you know, everybody in the world wants one. At that point, there's no hiding it anymore. That's open sourcing it. That's what open sourcing is in 2024. So that's my plan, guys. And I've now just given you the plan. So hopefully we can make this work and I don't get disappeared with it. But now here's the thing. Now you guys know what the plan is. So if I were to disappear, now all you have to do is find somebody who can make one and follow the model that I'm giving you. Right? Okay. Just looking to see if there's any other questions here. Yeah, Amy's dream needs to be realized. Amy and Thomas Bearden, man. Thomas Bearden wanted this out as well. Yeah, I think that I don't know if the mainstream academia is being controlled, but it's they're definitely being misled a little bit for sure. Yeah, and some of them will have been created and confiscated. Absolutely. Maybe today, maybe 2024 is the time where it's coming out. I'm not going to talk about my sources and methods because, again, I don't want to get myself or anybody else disappeared. But when I do have more information where I have something that I can show or talk about, absolutely will do that. The moment I can do that, I'll be blasting to you guys. What I can say is that, that's really all I'm going to say about it for now, guys. Yeah, I'm not suicidal. I'm not unhappy or anything like that. You guys saw me posting pictures of my dog today, having a great time outside. So, yep. Okay, let me see. Anything else? And yes, I have it on good authority that there's not just one way to do this. So, like, there's the Meg. We had the other one. I have a list of like 10 different free energy devices here as well. So there's probably more than one way. And once you figure out that there's an ether, like, it's just a matter of figuring out how you extract the energy from it. Bernie says 60% of TikTok content is flat Earth. Yeah, why is flat Earth like so huge now? Honestly, the way the flat Earth stuff has been getting pushed on me makes me feel like it's being intentionally pushed on me to try to discredit me. Like, that's really what it feels like. Everyone's like, you got to believe in flat Earth now. You guys got to realize the Earth is not flat. And like, we literally need curvature for any of this stuff to make sense. And just to rag on flat Earth for a second, I'm hoping the flat Earth people come back to me and they're like, oh no, you're just misconceptualizing it. It's like, this is the lens to my camera. This circle here is 2-dimensional. But obviously there's 3 dimensions to it. That's why I have 2 eyes. If stuff was flat, I wouldn't need 2 eyes. If you think the world is not round, why is an orange round? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, an orange is round, but the Earth is a circle or a sphere, but the Earth isn't? I don't get it. I dug around the Floyd Sweet stuff and I couldn't find much more, but I'm sure there's a whole backstory related to it. So if you guys find more backstory, let me know. Here's the biggest problem. It's potentially expensive. So making this stuff is not like, it's not like $20 going down to the hardware store, right? This stuff's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Generally, with any product that somebody produces, the overhead is usually 100%. So imagine that whatever it costs you to actually like make, generally you're going to sell it for twice as much because you've got all this overhead that you need, you need to have security, you need to have finance people, you need to have all this stuff, right? So generally the overhead is usually in business like 100%. So there's very big margins on a lot of this. So the big tough part is getting it to a point where it's cheap enough, where you can be produced cheap enough and rapidly enough that it can get to the masses. But even if you start off where like it's expensive, like imagine it costs, I'm just going to throw a number out there, $50,000. So now this is like an expensive car. So that's going to rule out a lot of people. but there's still quite a lot of people that would buy it at that rate, you know? And then the idea is that you get it cheaper and cheaper. And this kind of happened with Tesla as well, right? Teslas were very expensive, and they came out with cheaper and cheaper ones. And then it's like a little bit more and more affordable. I could imagine using a similar business model as that. Okay, so are we ready to go to our next video here? Hey, Amanda, nice to see you. Amanda's been my favorite follower for a very long time. Thank you, Billy Johnson. Appreciate you. Yeah, feel free to make sure you guys like the stream as well. Appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like the stream. Let's get more people onto this, more eyeballs, the safer this is and what have you. That device was the triode vacuum amplifier, was what that was called, Bernie. I'll put a link in the chat for you guys to where you can find all the free energy devices. I know for a fact free energy is real. The only question is like which of these devices work the best. Because again, it's not even a matter of the free energy being real. It's like which one is the cheapest or like the one that's most economically practical to produce. You can make something that's super complicated, but it's going to be very expensive, right? And this is why I think that like the one that I want is the one that can be produced very cheaply. I want something very simple, just simple, right? As simple as possible, but can run everything in your house. To me, as a business person, that's the one. I don't want something with a lot of moving parts either, because the more moving parts, the more maintenance there's going to be. So minimum moving parts. I saw like the Searle generator. It's got these magnets flipping around at like 160 like rotations per minute. That thing's going to break, man. 100%, right? So yeah, that's the tricky part. Yeah, I mean, I was just saying Andrew Tate because he just followed me the other day. I was just making something up, guys. I don't know if you guys didn't watch the stream the other night. Andrew Tate is following me now, I guess. So are a lot of people. Guys, also, you guys got to realize I got some crazy huge accounts following me, man. I've got a general following me, General Flynn. I've got not Elon Musk, but Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate. These people have over 5 million followers. Like, it's pretty wild. Okay, sorry guys. I'm way behind on the questions here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm still in the part where people are talking about flat Earth. Okay, let me scroll down to some of the more recent questions. Okay, if you guys have questions and I missed it, just repost it and I'll try to get to it. I did send Joe a follow-up. I found somebody's email, but Joe Rogan's going to probably have to come to terms with this on his own. You know, eventually he'll get on board, especially now that I'm talking about the free energy stuff. There's two schools of thought, right? The people that are trying to push disinformation will say like, oh, Ashton's moving on to some other fake thing, right? Free energy. But the people that have been following this investigation will realize that Ashton's right about everything. Ashton's right about MH370. He's right about wormholes. He's right about the ether. And he's right about free energy. There's a logical link between all of those things from a scientific perspective. And I'm right about how the science works. So whether or not people believe that, I really don't give a crap, because the reality is it's going to be proven true in the future. 100%, it's going to be proven true. So the best part is the people like you guys who are following along now, who are following this early on, in the future, you will be able to come out and say, I was following that guy who was pushing the information right at the beginning. Turns out he was right. I knew he was right all along. You guys will be able to tell people that. Other people are going to go, how did you know? You were following that guy in the beginning? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. Maybe it'll take 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. I don't know. But it'll happen eventually. Okay. So let's jump to the next video. So we're going to do the quantum teleportation protocol last. So first thing I want to do is I found this video. I think, did I not post a link to the video? I'll post another link. So first I'm going to do another link to the Discord. So if you guys want the Discord here. Yeah, that's true. Like, so Pointer Buck, like, it is arrogant. Yeah, absolutely. It's arrogant. But that's like saying somebody that's looking at the answers to the test is arrogant. Of course they're arrogant. They know the answers to the test. It's like you come at me, you try to tell me 2 + 2 is 5, and I'm staring at the answer that says 2 + 2 is 4. Of course, I'm going to sound arrogant to somebody who's saying 2 + 2 = 5. Yeah, I'm arrogant because I know I'm right. I'm literally staring at the answers. It's not like I had to like use my superpowers and figure out how the world works. No, I just literally was staring at the answers and was like, okay, well, How does this work? Oh, here's all the answers right here. It's all just sitting right there. Great. That's what I think is so funny about this investigation. It's just like, you know, what do you want, man? Of course, it sounds arrogant if you have no idea what you're talking about, how about science works, and I'm just staring at the answers, right? You can keep trying to tell me 2 + 2 = 5, but I'm just going to laugh at you and go, well, you'll find out in the future. Turns out it's 4. It's wild, man. I just love it. That's what guys, I've said this consistently about the videos. Sorry while I'm pulling the links up, is that since we know the videos are real, all we have to do is just wait and see like who wants to lie about them and what bullshit they try to spread about it. Because we know the videos are real. So if somebody just tries to lie, we can like deduce what their motivations are right away. Like all the debunkers, we can deduce that their motivations are like either they're having like mental breakdowns and they can't believe that they've been lied to their whole lives, or some of them are probably disinformation. I'm not going to name names, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And so it's just like, yeah, I mean, go nuts. Try to convince as many people as you guys want. You know, we know the truth. Okay, so here's the video that we're going to be looking at here in a second. Again, this is one of Dr. Stephen Greer's videos. So guys, even if you think that Dr. Greer is whatever you think about him, there's a lot of stuff about there. People that they, you know, discredit him for the way he makes money or sends people on CE5 or all that stuff. This dude is 100% on it when it comes to whistleblowers. Dr. Stephen Greer has interviewed more people that know about this stuff that are real whistleblowers than anybody, more than the government, more than Arrow. I respect like Ryan Graves and David Grush and Commander Fravor. Commander Fravor is, to me, the most authentic of all the UFO whistleblower people. The whistleblowers that we are interviewing are on another level, completely another level. David Grush, he knows about programs. He can't say anything. Lou Elizondo, same thing. Commander Fravor saw one of these objects firsthand with his own eyes, right? That's awesome. The people that we talk about, Thomas Bearden, Paul Sizix, I don't know how you say his last name, guys. He's got a weird spelling. These guys are literal engineers. They're not just people that saw it. They're people that engineered it, that built it. And this is the difference. This is why the UFO community is so stupid, is that all they care about is what people saw and their experiences. For some reason, all these UFO community idiots are all just about like, what was your experience like? Did you talk to you telepathically? What did you see? How, you know, that must have come from the Andromeda galaxy and all this shit. The engineers that we're talking to are like, no, this is exactly how you build it. This is exactly how it works. And like, we've had this technology figured out for like 30 years, right? What we're going to hear today from this guy, he's going to tell you that we had Mach 12, like 20,000 miles an hour, Mach 12, or 12,000 miles an hour or something like that in the 60s. In the 60s. It's 2024, guys. 60 years ago, we had Mach 12. Even in the videos, the orbs are only going Mach 2 or Mach 3, right? And this is the thing, like the UFO community is so lost, man. Like it should all be about the science and explaining the science and talking to the engineers. This is why people like Tim Ventura and Alien Scientist are the people you guys should be following, because they literally interview the engineers that know about this stuff, that they probably have NDAs as well, but they like are just explaining how it works. And the physicists. Instead, everybody just wants to know, like, oh, you're a guy that telepathically communicated with the blue alien? Tell us about your experience. Was it sexy? I was listening to Danny Sheehan's space yesterday, and he goes on about getting raped by aliens for like 10 minutes straight. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? What the fuck? Is everything about being raped by aliens with these people? Like, I just sitting there listening to it going, are you kidding me? Like, absolutely, are you kidding me? Anyway, here we go. Yeah, Alien Scientist. You guys can find Jeremy Reese. Yeah, that's what I'm saying the whole time. I'm going, that's so hot right now. Like, just like, and he just kept talking about it over and over and over again. I'm like, dude, what the? I just had to drop out. I just couldn't do it, guys. Jeremy Reese, Tim Ventura as well. You can find both of them on X. You can find them on YouTube as well. The crazy part is their interviews and stuff have like no viewers, like nobody. Like compared to what they should be when they're literally interviewing engineers. There was one time, I'll tell you guys a quick story before we get into this, where I was watching this big panel where like Mark Sokol, who started up Falcon Labs, he's like showing around the engineering lab with Jeremiah, which is another like engineer, just because they're really smart dudes. And there's like a whole panel of engineers. The engineers, I even recognize some of the names on there of some of these engineers. And I'm like, whoa, these are like important engineers that like actually work in third-party labs. And it's like there's like, I don't know, 1,000 views on this video. Like, how are people not watching? This is like, that video is probably like 100 times more important than like any of these UFO whistleblower videos or any of this stuff. Like, I don't know, guys. It's wild, man. It's wild. Yeah, it's all about clapping alien cheeks, dude. This is why my big joke is like with the Danny Jones stuff is like these some of these podcasters that have me on that literally just are spreading literal disinformation. Like I actually feel like Danny Jones was pressured by somebody to like make a fake name and try to like have these corridor creep people come on. Like the goal was clearly to try to discredit me. That was like 100% the goal. And it makes no sense because then the next week or a couple weeks later, he's interviewing a guy that says he got raped by an alien and lost his V card to an alien. I'm like, wait, so you're trying to discredit me when I have like actual hard evidence and facts and can literally go through the whole story and timeline, what happened to this plane and prove the conspiracy. And you're being incredulous to me, but when some guy comes and says that some blue alien took his V card from him and had an alien baby, you don't even begin to question any of what he's saying. Like obviously he is set up, and it doesn't surprise me because the podcasters that did this literally interview CIA agents like every other week. Like Danny Jones interviewed Ron Pandolfi, who's like the #1 piece of shit CIA agent on the whole planet. He's got a picture of like hugging him and shit. I'm like, okay, obviously this guy's a plant. Like obviously Danny Jones is a plant. Julian Dory is a plant. These guys are big frauds. Like if you guys follow them, you might enjoy their content. They're 1000% government controlled. 1000%. No doubt whatsoever. Just complete clowns, guys. So that's just the truth, guys. I always tell you the truth. That's just the way it is, man. I call it like I see it. Yeah, and the FBI buddies as well, guys. Like I'll never get over how when I'm talking to Julian Dory and I'm like being the nicest guy in the world, and he's got Jim DiOrio, legendary FBI spook, on the speakerphone. He's gleefully showing me his name on there, and I write it down because I'm like, okay, this is going to be important to know later on. Literally write it down, Jim DiOrio. Google him right there while he's on the speakerphone. And I'm like, okay, why the fuck are you talking to a legendary FBI agent right now? And then you're going to go and just have a completely hostile interview with me and like try to cherry pick meaningless shit? Like really, really obvious. Really obvious. Okay, let's watch the video, guys. You ready? Once again, these are the people that you want to be watching. These are the videos, like with these whistleblowers and stuff that we've got here. Because these are the guys that literally know how it works, man. Yeah, Alchemial Science is a good one as well. So a lot of people have been linking me his videos. He actually gets pretty decent views, I would say, because he has less followers than I do. But he gets like 10, 15,000 views on his videos. The only problem I have with his content is he needs to increase the production quality a little bit. Just standing there and going off, like, you know, you can take that 2-hour video and slim it down to 30 minutes. But and that's Jordan. I'm going to meet him as well. I'm going to probably try to help him out with some of his marketing when I meet him next month. Okay, so this here, I don't know how.
Graduate of Parks College.
I don't know how to say his last name. If you guys can figure it out. I mean, CZYSZ. That's a pretty tough one to. That's a tough one to figure out, chat. He spent 30 years at McDonnell Douglas, 8 years in the Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and he died in 2013. Sis? Oh, his last, Paul Sis? Is that how you say his name? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, here we go. Size, Sis? Well, maybe size, maybe Sis. Anyway, whatever. The important thing is that he's a literal aerospace engineer. And what you're going to hear from him is going to blow your mind. Let's watch.
Started in the Air Force.
Can I fast forward this?
Wright-Patterson, and was in the Air Force for 2 years and stayed an additional 6 years working in research.
Oh, that's how you
And then
mute
I
it.
returned to McDonnell Douglas and stayed there for 30 years, and finally ended up at Parks College again as a endowed chair.
And at McDonnell Douglas, what was your work there?
It involved a lot of high-speed work, hypersonics. We worked on
Hypersonics? Like, first of all, once I heard that, we're not even a minute into this thing. And he's already talking about hypersonics. Realize that this guy, this is from before 2013. So, and he had worked there for 30 years. So this is probably like from the 70s to the early 2000s. And we were already working on hypersonics. His eyes are so big. Emily, why are you being weird? His eyes aren't that big, are they? Chat. Emily's cracking me up. Okay, here we go. But hypersonics, like, wow.
things that flew from Mach 4 to Mach 12.
Right off the bat, we're not even 2 minutes in. Mach 4 to Mach 12? What? Like, okay, the moment you got an aerospace engineer who was working on stuff in the 70s to the 2000s, and he's talking about Mach 12? Mach 12. 20,000 miles an hour? I'm sorry, what? However fast that is? Like, okay, now you've got my attention already. We're only a minute in.
He had some airplanes that flew Mach 12 all the way around the world.
Airplanes that flew Mach 12 all the way around the world.
And just for the benefit of people, can you just explain what?
Wait, I got to do my thing. Hold on. Mach 12, airplanes that flew Mach 12 all the way around the world.
What the Mach
Okay,
refers to?
Mach number is how many faster than the speed of sound you are. So literally a Mach 12 airplane flies about 12,000 feet per second, or about
12,000 feet per second?
14,000 miles an hour.
14,000 miles an hour. Just going around the whole world in an hour? 14,000 miles an hour.
And it could fly all the way around the world. Almost built it.
Well, okay, you've already convinced me. Just from hearing that alone, I only need to hear 1 minute, and I already know now that most of the stuff that we're seeing as UFOs is just black budget programs. The stuff that pilots are seeing are clearly black budget programs. People are like, no, nothing can fly that fast. This dude's talking about stuff flying 14,000 miles an hour in like the 60s and 70s.
One of the more interesting nights I had was one of the things I did, of course, when you're a lieutenant in the Air Force, is you get these wonderful assignments like your office, the assistant officer of the day. And one night I was the assistant to the head officer of the day over at Patterson Field, and we had 151 phone calls come in of objects flying down interstate, well, at that time, US 40, then turning at Columbus and going up to Detroit. And these were state policemen, some doctors that were up late at night, all kinds of people that reported seeing us. We had radar tracks on them, had airliners call in that they had seen them. Very, very interesting. And each one that called in, I had to run over to FTD and take the thing over, and if I didn't get back in time and the poor colonel got awoken by the next call, I got bawled out.
So he's already talking about, like, basically people were seeing the stuff they were testing, and they were thinking it was like UFOs and crazy shit like that. And he's like, nah, we're just testing our Mach 12 supersonic airplanes and stuff like that. I mean, this blew me away. And like Ryder says, like, now Mach 12 is, 12,000 miles an hour is probably conventional now. I mean, we've got literal teleportation technology now. We've got wormhole technology. So we've literally just broken through the, quantum barrier, so to speak.
But that was a very interesting night. And these guys, as I say, were not, people who weren't used to seeing evidentiary sites and things like that. I mean, they were very clear descriptors of what they saw. Probably more than half of my career, I was in projects that were classified or compartmentalized.
Can you describe how that process worked?
How much of his career? He just said like a major part of his career, he was in compartmentalized, so like special access programs. So like this dude was in the know. And people ask me, why don't people come out? Dude, they did come out, man. You're listening to the guy. This is a guy from 2013. This is before 2013, this interview. He died in 2013. Like, this stuff is out there. People just talk about it freely. This is why when you're talking to Salvatore Paez and even people like Dave Rossi, like Dave Rossi's just starting his career. Like Salvatore Paez has been in his career. These people talk openly about this stuff. People just don't listen.
Well, generally, you have to, depending on the level of the compartmentalization and the secrecy level, you have to go through a fairly significant background check. It takes between 6 months to a year to get the background checks.
Okay, so right there, I already know he's 100% legitimate because I have a security clearance. And that's exactly what they told me, is that it can take 6 months to a year to get your security clearance. And I know because I went through the whole process. I know exactly what the process is. That's why my whole background's been vetted by the United States government. That's why I chose to come out and do this, because I was like, I've got a security clearance. My job has nothing to do with this, so it makes me a perfect candidate to talk about this because I don't have any NDAs. So I found some crazy shit on the internet, all publicly available, no inside information, and I can just speak freely about it. And free energy, whatever, I can just figure that out, and I can speak freely about that too until somebody makes me sign an NDA. This guy had an NDA, so he couldn't talk specifically about the programs. He can just say what he knows.
And then when you do that, then you generally, if you're in a very tight compartment, then you have to sign a statement that you will not divulge the existence of the project or even answer a question that could divulge the existence of the project.
So there you go, guys. Did you want to know why David Grush and Lou Elizondo can't say anything? You just heard it right there. If you have an NDA, you can't even answer a question that would divulge the existence of the project. You hear that? If you have an NDA, you can't even answer a question that would divulge the existence of the project. That's why when Lou Elizondo is doing these interviews and people ask him various questions, he can't even say anything about it. A lot of the questions he can't answer at all. That's why for someone like me, I can deduce it and figure it out, and I can just openly, freely talk about it. This is probably what got Salvatore Paez in trouble, because he had to be very careful about the questions that he answered. And because he had to be very careful about how he answered them, they probably were like, you were giving away too much. Because he basically told us how Maxwell's equations were incorrectly reduced. Like, he explained how superconductivity could be a key, right?
And it's not even on a need-to-know basis. It's on a basis of people being identified specifically to know what you're working on and directly associated with the project.
Oh, so it's not even just the information, but like they don't want you to become a target for spies, right? Because foreign adversaries might target you if they know you're on a special project as well.
So it's very closely contained material. If you have a covert project, the funding would come through a number of government sources, none of which would be identified to the workers. Whatever higher level people were involved in it, even they might not know where the funding came. It's just that you sign a contract with the U.S. government and the funding would show up at the right place at the right time. If there were...
And so, yes, he was talking about the funding. There's actually a Twitter post that talks about how the funding works as well. I'm going to expose that too. That reminds me to make a note of that. There's a Twitter post that it literally explains how they hide the funding. I was surprised it was on the internet. I almost forgot about that. I'm glad this guy just reminded me right now. Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate you explaining to me. Paul Size or whatever your name is. Like they basically use these like shell companies, and this is how they move the funding around. So there's no paper trail to get back to how the money works. And yes, this is why Elon is using copy and paste answers 100%. 100%. Because you can't even answer questions that could reveal the information. This is literally why Elon can't talk about MH370. You think that Elon's not chomping at the bit to talk about the MH370 stuff? Do you think he really doesn't know about me? I've got 137,000 fucking followers in less than a year. And I'm talking about the craziest shit ever that would completely change Tesla, completely change SpaceX. And I'm talking about our spy satellite surveillance system that Elon Musk is literally shooting Starlink satellites in the air and secret satellites on his SpaceX rockets in the air. Of course he can't talk about it. He can't talk about anything that would reveal anything. This actually basically proves the videos are real, because if the videos were fake, he'd be able to talk about the videos. The fact that they're real means he can't even talk about anything related to them. Can't even bring it up. Can't even answer questions about it. This is why we have to be very careful about the people who are being very quiet about the videos, because it means that they might have NDAs that is like literally preventing them from talking about them. That's why that's why I started getting spooked right away when people wouldn't even talk about the videos, the MH370 videos. Is alien scientists really rage quitting YouTube? I doubt it. Anyway, let's keep going.
If there were non-earthbound sources of the information, you would, at least at the people that were doing the design work or doing the analysis work, would never have any idea of where it came from. All you would have to do is visit Russia to see how they did it. They would compartmentalize every project into what I used to call silos, and they would have a colonel or a colonel general sitting on top of that, and literally they could not talk to anyone outside of that silo. And if someone else needed help, one person would be sent over to another place, sit down at a desk, look at a piece of paper, say, yes, I know what that problem is, here's the answer to it, and walk away. He would not even know what it was that he was working on. There's giant triangles that appear over Palmdale that move very slow. So they may be different triangles so they have the ones that I've heard about have these glow around them, and they're very large and very slow moving. So that's different, I think, than the ones that appear over Belgium and that are very fast moving. The ones that appeared over Belgium that moved very quickly in a few seconds, no, you can't explain that on conventional physics. Just like if you use, by conventional physics, I mean engines and jet engines and rocket motors and propulsion systems as we know them today.
Okay, so he's talking about rocket propulsion and stuff that we know today. This is a very dated video. This dates it, right? 2024, we're way past the idea of like electrogravitics. Like that's a very commonplace, but this was probably filmed in like the 2000s. And back then, nobody really understood this idea of non-rocket based propulsion. You know, now we have Charles Bueller, who's like, I'm making an EM drive and it can do anti-gravity. So it's much more commonplace. So right there, it kind of dates this video a little bit. He died in 2013 for William Bill, who asked a question a second ago. Consciousness, I'm not sure about the whole consciousness controlling the craft stuff. I would need to see that to believe it. That's the kind of thing where it's like, it's a little too out there, but it's getting more and more mainstream, this idea of consciousness controlling the crafts. I'm just giving you guys my opinion on that. The Joseph P. Farrell thing, we found that. Somebody found that back in March, but that's from 10 years ago as well. So that Joseph P. Farrell clip where he's literally talking about exactly what happened in the plane, which is just nuts. Yeah, that we found that like 2 months ago. Somebody found that 2 months ago.
You put fuel in, you burn something, and it produces thrust, and it accelerates an object. In that context, no. And in that kind of physics, you cannot explain hardly any human beings living long enough to go much beyond the edge of our little solar system, because it takes almost 13 years to get to the outer edge where the Kuiper belt is, and some of the outer things that are going around with Pluto and Charon and those things. So that's 26 years round trip. So you're not even out to the edge of the heliosphere where the edge of the sun's interaction is with free space. That's 3 light years away, and that would take 150 years. So in the conventional terms, no, you can't explain it. It has to be, if the physics that have to explain that are quantum physics in which things can appear to be almost 2 places at the same time and appear and reappear just like positrons and electrons do in some of the high energy particle colliders. It's probably not anything pushing it through the air. It's a coupling of the device with the energy that permeates space.
Yeah, so right there, I clipped that part as part of the free energy thing, but this is where you start to realize that there is a connection, right? Is that the ether is the connection between all of this. That's how you get the free energy, and that's where the propulsion mechanisms come from. EM drive, you're coupling with the vacuum permittivity of free space, or you are able to create space around you as well. And you can tell just the look in this guy's eyes right now is he's giving the information out that he can say without getting killed. That's what he's doing right here. He knows more than what he's saying. I can tell right away. If you guys have not been following me, you know I have really good intuition, and I can tell when people are lying right away. He is not revealing everything he knows right now. He's got like a script in his head for what he can say about the technology and what he can't say. Couple other questions as well. The Mike Harris thing, we found the Mike Harris thing back in November of last year. And somebody's setting up an interview where I'm potentially going to talk with Mike Harris. So we're going to find out what Mike Harris knows about this plane, potentially even next week. And we'll see. I mean, I'll be able to tell if he's lying for sure. What are your thoughts on the concept of gravity manipulation similar to the jump program in the Matrix? Yeah, I mean, we can manipulate gravity and we can manipulate space-time, which are 2 very similar concepts. It's like the fabric, like bending the fabric of like my clothes, right? When I bend it like this, I was actually just watching, was it Ken Wheeler talk about this? It's like bending space-time is much like bending the fabric of your clothes. And you imagine that you bend it so much, you're going to make it rip, same idea. And so bending it a little bit will create gravity manipulation. Bending it so much that it rips will create a wormhole. Pretty cool, right? Wait, there's a post an hour ago saying Jeremy Reese is permanently quitting YouTube. Oh, wow. Hey, alien girl. Somebody said, why do we not use this technology more often? Well, because this is a trump card. This is a super weapon. This is like saying, why do we not use nukes more often? You don't use nukes more often because we don't want to destroy the planet. You also don't use your super weapon because you don't want the enemy to know how it works. This is why the MH370 videos are the most important leaks in the history of the world, because the US government never wanted those videos to come out. Not just because they want to hide it from the public, but because they don't want China and Russia to figure out how to reverse engineer it. And because we were able to figure out how to reverse engineer it just from watching those videos and figure out that there's an ether and figure out that free energy is possible, not only does this open the door for China and Russia to figure it out, but now everybody can figure it out. North Korea, Iran, the ISIS terrorists on the street can figure this out as well. That's why those videos, they're desperately trying to hide the MH370 videos. That's why they have every single disinformation operative, every single YouTube channel that the government controls is trying to debunk those videos, because they are trying to hide them from the rest of the world. Right? That's the truth. That's just the truth of why. So you don't use this weaponry. You keep this weaponry in the back shelf. A quick anecdote on that front as well is that there was an anecdote. There was somebody who was saying like they were working on like advanced aerospace stuff, and somebody tells them like, hey, all this stuff is obsolete that we're working on. And that if any real war were to break out, they would just break out the stuff that is like the super weapons. Like they wouldn't be using F-35s, F-35s are the public-facing technology that we show people. The stuff that we've got in the deep projects where we break those out, if it were to get sketchy, that stuff completely obsoletes everything that we have from the public realm. So that's the answer about it, guys.
Probably Tesla was as close to it when he said that if given the right energy system, the right electromagnetic spectrum, I can power a a human base on Mars from Earth without any loss of energy. And in quantum physics and zero-point energy, that's a possibility. But literally, Sakharov and the number of people that were working on it, I think, are very, very convincing arguments that the fabric of space is like an ocean, an energy ocean in which solid energy is floating on it, and solid energy is the mass. And if that's true, then gravity waves exist, and in fact, everything goes back to Heaviside equations, and it's waves, not particles.
Holy crap, chat. Did you just listen to what he just said right there? So somebody just asked at the same time, what fills the void when the rip occurs? You're looking, like imagine the painting and you rip the paint away. You're looking at the canvas. You're looking at the ether. You're looking at the negative energy. You're looking at the ocean of unlimited energy that he just described. And then what happens? It closes up right away. That's why we don't ever see it, because you have to try to keep it open. Otherwise, there's an automatic correction mechanism that closes it up immediately. What he's just saying there is, if this is real, then gravity waves are real. Well, gravity waves are real. We've detected them with LIGO. We know they are. So now work backwards. If gravity waves are real, then this is real. Wow. I'm going to play that back one more time.
Often the number of people that were working on it, I think, are very, very convincing arguments that the fabric of space is like an ocean, an energy ocean in which solid energy is floating on it, and solid energy is the mass.
So right there, this is why we're calling space-time the space-time ether, because space is not empty. They want us to think that space is empty, but it's not. That's why there's an ether. The ether is the underlying framework. Mass is sitting on top of the ether. Mass on top of the ether is what's causing gravity. It's a repulsive effect, or I guess not necessarily repulsive, but counter-repulsive effect, an attraction.
And if that's true, then gravity waves exist. And in fact, everything goes back to Heaviside equations, and it's way.
And right here, here's the only mistake he made. He says Heaviside equations, but it doesn't go back to Heaviside equations. It goes back to Maxwell's equations. And I think he just slipped up right there. I think he meant Maxwell's equations, but he meant like Heaviside equations in the perspective of like we wrote them, we reduced them incorrectly.
Waves, not particles. And the quantum is now not mass, but time. And if that's true, then there's a whole different.
Roy D. Herbert. Where's Roy D. Herbert, everybody? He says it's not mass, it's time. And why is this important? Because time dilation is real. Interstellar. Space-time is one and the same. If you can bend space, you can bend time. And this, I can't believe he said this before 2013. I didn't even know time dilation was real till I saw the movie Interstellar. That was like 2019, 2020, maybe even later. So this is wild. This probably went over everybody's head when he said this back then. When he said this during this interview, probably nobody understood what he was talking about.
You look at the whole universe in a different light, and then a lot of things become possible that we think impossible within our current understanding of what time and space and thrust and force and all that is. If they come from the other part of the universe, if there are craft that travel, galaxies on the average are 10 million light years away, and even our galaxy is about 100,000 light years across. All of the conventional thrust and force mechanisms that we conceive of just won't work in terms of human time frames. That's the only explanation I can get, is that if people are here from another civilization, then they've understood the finer points of quantum physics and how to couple that from particles into beings that can do what particles can do now.
Yep. So a couple questions, great questions in the chat. Mass is the paint on the canvas. Exactly. Mass is the paint on the canvas, and there's mass equals energy. And we have mass everywhere. Even when we take an area of what we think is empty space, it's not empty at all. So mass is what we have on there. And yes, the other person, don't you need a rip on the other side? We answer that too. That's where the fourth orb hypothesis comes into play. Where does the plane go? When we open up a rip right here with our three orbs, It's got to show up over here. So we need something else over here. That's the fourth orb hypothesis. So it's disappearing from one point in time. The energy is being sucked out from here, and you're going to hear something else is going to come. This video is nuts. This is one of the craziest videos I've watched, and we've seen some crazy shit, chat. So get ready for it. We're going to hear it in a little bit. But the idea, we're absorbing the energy from this point, and the energy is going to reappear over here. Okay? Remember that. Endothermic event, an absorption of energy. That's what we're seeing. And you could argue that an endothermic event is consistent with negative energy as well. And then we're going to see this plane slingshot away. Let's watch. Let's keep going.
When I was at Wright-Patterson, we had the flying saucers that went up. I think they covered the distance from Columbus to Detroit in something like equivalent of about 20,000 miles an hour. I don't think anyone in the ordinary aerospace business would have had any knowledge of what they were even talking about if you mentioned quantum physics or wormholes or the type of things we know now, because if you went to...
Sorry, what did he just say? Did he just say wormholes right there, chat? He just said wormholes. Literally just dropped wormholes on us. Why is he saying wormholes right there? What the hell? He just said wormholes. A guy that worked in black budget programs literally says that most aerospace engineers wouldn't understand this technology, don't understand wormholes. I do not think... that's a good question. William, I'm going to take notes of some of these questions. We'll get back to them in a second, but I want to keep going on the thing here. Yeah, this is part of the reason why the clip art people and the people think we're looking at VFX. Like, anyone who thinks we're looking at VFX in the MH370 videos is an idiot. Like, you just have to understand how much science you would have to understand. This guy's telling people right here in this interview that is only a few years before the videos happened, that most PhD aerospace engineers don't even understand the idea of a wormhole, okay? And yet we're literally seeing it in 2 videos. Who the hell? It wasn't some lazy kid that made the videos. These people are fucking morons. Anyone think these videos, the MH370 videos are fake at this point? Like, just do some real science, right? And then you'll realize those videos are real. Wow.
CERN and talk to the...
I'm going to go back to play that back.
Miles an hour. I don't think anyone in the ordinary aerospace business.
Nobody in the ordinary aerospace business, that was the prerequisite there,
would have had any knowledge of what they were even talking about if you mentioned quantum physics or wormholes.
Chat, what? Bro! This guy is in the know, man. I couldn't believe this. I wouldn't have believed this a year ago. Now that I'm looking at it in 2 military videos, I'm going, holy shit. Paul Size here, you are, wow, my man.
Are the type of things we know now, because if you went to CERN and talked to the particle physicists, they would tell you certainly some of this was possible because they see it all the time. Where they think they see mass, they really see energy frozen in a time quantum, and what they're seeing is really a frozen bundle of energy, and it moves back and forth almost without any restriction. I thought there were enough credible stories.
Okay, so I am going to answer the question about superposition, because whoever said time dilation is not real, get caught up with physics, my man. Time dilation has already been proven for like 40, 50 years. Time dilation is 100% real. Space-time is a fluid symmetry. If you can bend space, you are bending time. That's how wormholes even possible, probably. Certainly how some of this manipulation of gravity is possible. So could you have the plane get stuck in superposition? Technically, yes. Technically, yes. There's a real possibility where the plane could go into a wormhole and then come out at a completely different time. Now, and then you could release it at a different time as well. Now, it's hard to conceptualize that because we don't have 2 videos on the other side, but if you showed me 2 videos of MH370 coming out like 4 hours later, I would say we fucking held that thing in superposition somehow, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if that ends up being true, but I just don't have enough evidence to run with it at the moment.
Stories that I may not be able to explain them, but they weren't phenomenon that were people's imagination. Whatever they saw was real, but I couldn't explain how it was real, what made it real. But I think they saw what they saw. Near St. Louis, there was a fairly large triangular object seen, and it covered the distance down to South St. Louis. In some of its sightings, it was moving relatively benignly, but then it literally jumped about 20 miles in a couple of seconds. And I've received a lot of phone calls from the local newspapers and TV stations as how can that be? And I said, I don't know how it can be, except if you explain it through something like a quantum physics explanation of time and space.
Dude, the way he's talking about this, where he smiles a little bit, this guy knows, man. He knows. He's like, I don't know how to explain it. You'd have to look at quantum physics and quantum mechanics and maybe some wormholes, and that would explain it.
Relationships that gave you time and space travel. But other than that, there's no way I know that I can put the biggest rocket engine I could think of on it. It still couldn't get there at that speed. And the noise and the sound you would make doing something like that would wake everybody up for 10 miles. And it made no sound at all. It starts out at hover, and it literally almost disappears and pops over here. So it's not like a cartoon where it goes whoosh. It's almost like it disappears and comes up over here.
Guys, is he just explaining teleportation right now? Like 3 different times already. We're only 10 minutes and 12 minutes into this video. He's explained wormholes and teleportation 3 different times. And I feel like the interviewer is it's like going right over the interviewer's head.
At least the descriptions that some of the police officers gave to it. A lot of combat pilots routinely go up to 7 and 8 Gs, but that's a very specific direction. That's from your head downward along the axis of your spine. If you were to take that, what's called eyeballs in, which is when you accelerate, the force is this way, you literally would have your eyeballs compressed out of their sockets and you'd have brain damage. So the Gs to do that might be in the order of 1,000 Gs. So no, that's not physically possible for any, even insects, to take that level of acceleration, even over a short period of time. You might get, in an automobile accident, you might get 100 to 150 Gs, and that's when the car is completely crushed. So that's what would happen to a human being if that were a conventional force accelerator. So it's not a conventional force accelerator, because if there's people in them, human beings in them, or a being in them that isn't crushed, then it has to be a different way of doing it. The hard part is...
Okay, he just explained inertial mass reduction for everybody who wasn't paying attention there. There has to be another way to pull it off. This is how you have to have a situation where you're not going to get crushed by the G-forces. This means you need inertia reduction. So how do you pull that off? Well, you bend space-time around you, right? Warp drive and or a wormhole will both accomplish this. Warp drive lets you pull space around you, right? Like on a conveyor belt. If you're on a conveyor belt, you're not moving. The conveyor belt's moving. If you make a bubble around your object, if you go through a wormhole, it's the space, the medium is moving. You're not moving. This means there's zero inertia. That's how you can achieve these relativistic speeds that are extremely high.
To find a way to physically do that. You know, there are people who have been experimenting with zero-point energy or try to tap zero-point energy for years. Every once in a while, someone will do it accidentally. They'll call it cold fusion, but I don't think it's cold fusion. I just think it's a zero-point energy tap.
Okay, when I heard that part, what he just said right there, he said that people have accidentally figured out free energy and zero-point energy. Zero-point energy is the same as free energy, guys. They're synonymous. He says that some people think they're finding cold fusion, but in the end, they're finding free energy. I thought he was talking to me when he said that this whole time. I've thought there has to be a relationship between sucking energy out of the ether and cold fusion. This is probably how we're able to achieve over unity through fusion. The way that it's possible is that it's extracting energy from the ether. Maybe that's how our sun works, right? Like, this is what I think there's a missing link that we don't quite understand. How can the sun be up there for billions of years producing basically unlimited amounts of energy for us? Right? There's a connection between cold fusion and the ether for sure. And this goes to the idea of the thunderstorm generator, Malcolm Bendel's stuff as well, plasmoids. Like, it's all starting to come together, chat. Like, this isn't pseudoscience. We're like actually figuring out. If you're listening to this right now, you are on the cutting edge of literally experimental physics that's been out there. Not even just, experimental, proven physics, been out there forever, suppressed from us. Mike Diets, thank you very much for the donation. He says, Ashton, thanks for bringing light to this subject. You really opened my eyes and mind. Keep doing what you're doing, dude. Yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring the information down to the common person, like myself, like everybody else that's out there. I've loved physics and science for my whole life. And I've absorbed as much as I could, and I knew there was something missing here. There's too many questions, too many gaps. And after I saw the videos, and it just all started to come together. Like, this is why the MH370 videos are the biggest leaks in the history of the world, is because once you see those videos, if you know enough about science, like, a lot of this goes back to the double slit experiment, especially when he's talking about like superposition and time being stuck. This is the issue with the double slit experiment. The only way the double slit experiment makes any sense is if time is not linear. Like, I'm going to repeat that again. The only way that the double slit experiment makes any sense, the answer is that time is not linear, which means that the double slit experiment is able to react based on us observing it because it's able to break locality, break the speed of light. It's able to break time as we know it. The universe is defying the laws of physics as we understand it. That's what's happening in the double slit experiment.
Except for 3 people that I know, no one has been able to control it. When it happens for a short period of time, and it's almost always destructive. It's like drilling a hole in the base of Grand Coulee Dam, and all of a sudden this jet of water comes out that literally has enough pressure to cut you in half. Without a valve on it, you can't shut it off.
So that's really interesting too, because I've always wondered, okay, well, like, you get your generator running. How do you stop it? The moment you have your generator, because Thomas Bearden explained it, right? Okay, you have excess energy coming out, more than is coming in, and then you send it back into the system. But now your generator is just going to run forever, and it's going to continually produce excess over unity. Like, how do you stop it? How do you make sure that it doesn't send so much energy out that it just blows up or something? Right? That's the real problem. Like, you have this destructive event. That's where you need your engineers to be very smart. So I don't know what the answer to that is at all. Just being honest with you, I have no idea. The first time I heard it was this, and I went, "Oh wait, yeah, doesn't that seem like kind of a problem?"
There's one guy that a friend of mine actually visited in Ann Arbor, Michigan, that was, I consider, a mathematical genius that actually figured out a way to control it. He was so paranoid, he divorced his wife, left his wife and children, and went in hiding.
This story is nuts.
Because he was terrified that someone would kill him for the knowledge that he had, the ability to tap this whenever he chose to and control it. We don't know where we haven't seen him in 5 years. I don't know where he is.
So some guy figures out how to control it, and he just freaks out, divorces his wife, and goes and runs away because he's so scared. I can relate to that, because when I first saw the videos and realized they were real, I was like, holy shit, I'm going to be killed. I'm going to be killed. I figured this out. Government's going to come silence me. And I was like, I gotta talk about it. Otherwise, like, what else? What are my other options? Like, I either go into hiding and wait for them to come for me, or I just be as loud as I can be. That's literally what my thought process was. So Brandon brings up a great question, right? When you start to think about this and absorb this, you go, wait, what does this mean for the universe? If energy is infinite, like, is the universe actually going to die from, going cold? I would say this questions whether or not a Big Bang even happened. Maybe our universe is actually infinite. I've always thought that makes more sense that our universe is infinite size, basically, and that it's been around hundreds of billions of years, if not infinitely long. And to me, that makes more sense in my personal opinion. So I would even question if the Big Bang even really happened, or if it did happen, if it didn't happen way longer ago than we're thinking. And James Webb Space Telescope already destroyed the idea of the universe being 13.8 billion years old. They already found galaxies that were already way too advanced, that were super, super far away. So the idea of the universe being 14 billion years old, like everything we've been taught growing up, is all wrong. We already know that. We're already pushing it back. Now they're saying it's like 26 billion years old. We're like literally doubling the age just because of one telescope improvement.
You know, right now today you've got an energy problem with the price of oil. What do you think would happen if you introduced an ability to tap? 0-point energy represents about 40 to 50 megawatts of power per cubic inch of space. That's a lot of power. That's 4,600 million watts of power. And if you could tap it at will, then no one would have to sell gasoline or oil anymore. You would just tap into it. It would be like taking and going out to the Great Lakes and taking out one drop and using it. You'd hardly miss it.
So that was huge too. Honestly, this is the craziest interview. Other than Thomas Beard and stuff, this guy is he's on the Mount Rushmore of crazy videos that we've watched in this investigation, because he just explained it. It's like taking out one drop of water out of the Great Lakes. Just basically infinite energy. This is where it's like technically we're borrowing the energy, but it's like borrowing one drop of water from the lake. It's nothing. And it presents so much energy, just a single drop. That's why it's literally just unlimited free energy. Like, this has been suppressed from us. We shouldn't be driving around a fucking cars or any of the coal power plants, all this crap that we have. Literally could all be just gotten away with overnight.
And since it permeates the whole universe and it continually fluctuates as the matter and antimatter interact, it's not like it's a steady lake. It's a pool the size of the universe. So you'd never, for what we would use it for, you'd never even miss it.
Yeah, it's just unlimited. Like, the amount from just like a drop is enough to run an entire country, right? That's how crazy the amount of energy is. You want to move up from the Cardiff scale from like 0 to 1. Like, the moment we tap into free energy in the ether, we move up to a type 1 civilization overnight. With this amount of energy, we can start to do crazy stuff. Like, we can destroy our own planet, but then imagine using it for something productive. Like, we are going to be able to start doing crazy stuff. Like CERN, the whole CERN thing is just bullshit, guys. CERN is a fucking psyop. They're doing nothing there that's relevant. Everything that CERN is trying to accomplish has already been discovered decades ago. We don't need some giant particle collider that's like 20 miles wide or whatever this thing is. We don't need any of this shit. What we need is free energy and have one drop of it. And then we can basically just start to do magical stuff.
The only thing this one guy claimed that happened is if you bottle it and move it to another location and release it, he sounded exactly like Mr. Spock. He said you create a tear in the time domain of the local space. And
bottle it and create a time tear in local space. What? Chat, what? He just explained the MH370 video. You bottle it up and you create a tear in local space. Excuse me. Sorry, sir. I'm going to need you to repeat that. Yeah, that's a boom. That's gonna be a Yahtzee for me, chat. That's gonna be a Yahtzee for me. So you mean like that video right there, sir? Is that what you mean, sir?
cause a problem, which he claims he did. Like it's a steady lake. It's a pool the size of the universe. So you'd never, for what we would use it for, you'd never even miss it. The only thing this one guy claimed that happened is if you bottle it and move it to another location and release it, he sounded exactly like Mr. Spock. He said you create a tear in the time domain of the local space. And
Guys, I will bet you any amount of money in the world that he's talking about Thomas Bearden right there. I will bet you anything he's talking about Thomas Bearden right there. Like that, he's got to be talking about Thomas Bearden.
Actually cause a problem, which he claims he did, and he will never do it again, which is bottle and move it. The other part is that it doesn't work on conventional jet engines. One has to create an actual zero-point energy engine to do that. This one guy in Ann Arbor, Michigan had one running in his basement, not connected to any power source whatsoever, sitting in the middle of a table, and it had been running for a year. Yeah, of the ones I've seen, now they might be able to make an engine that would drive an automobile, or they might make a motor that would drive a pump for a well in Africa somewhere, or a generator to power a village. But none of them would have even the inkling of how you would build a ship the size of a football field and make it move at the speeds that apparently it moved. And speed's actually the wrong word. What appeared to be changing in location in very rapid times. Because conventionally, we think of this as speeding through space, but what if it really acts like some of the high energy particles at CERN? They really transfer into energy and reappear over here, and there was no mass that went anywhere, because all mass is solid energy. And if you find a way to move back and forth with that, the conventional wisdom is that a complex organic structure like us cannot transfer back and forth from energy to solid, but that's because we've never seen it done.
Holy shit, he just explained macroscopic phase conjugation, chat. He just explained macroscopic phase conjugation. Going from mass to energy and back to mass again. That's exactly macroscopic phase conjugation. He just explained it. He just explained inertial mass reduction. What he just explained is inertial mass reduction. Going from a massive object to a wave function, energy, and then going back to a deterministic point again. Mass again. This is the craziest video I've ever fucking watched. We only know this is real because of our investigation into this science. If I had even watched this 6 months ago, I wouldn't have known what he's talking about. I only understand it because we've been talking about this. I want to play that again, guys. Holy crap. Yeah, beam me up. This is literally teleportation. You're not dematerializing the object. You're reducing it to a wave function where now it's just pure energy and you're transmitting it somewhere else. And then you're turning it back to mass again. From a fermion to a boson and back to fermion again.
Anywhere, because all mass is solid energy. And if you find a way to move back and forth with that, the conventional wisdom is that a complex organic structure like us cannot transfer back and forth from energy to solid, but that's because we've never seen it done. What you represent is solid energy. Now, what you see, you think you're solid, right? In fact, the distance between the atoms in your body are almost exactly relatively proportional to the same distance as the planets around the sun. So in fact, if you could look at your individual atoms, you would be 98% space.
So he just explained it right there. And so I'll put this guy's name in the chat for a third time, guys. Please, if you are walked in late, then you're going to have to catch up. I'm sorry. I'm not going to repeat it again for a fifth time. This will be the time. But it's worth saying his name one more time. This is his name. He's an aerospace engineer for 30 years. He worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the Air Force for 8 years. This part right here where he's explaining that we're 90% empty space. So what we don't realize is we look like we're these massive objects, but if you were to crunch us down, all the mass in our whole bodies would fit on the head of a pin. So then now you can begin to understand how easy it would be to revert us to a wave function. Like we really are just waves. This is Tesla, you know, frequency, waves, and vibrations, energy, frequency, and vibration, right? Yeah.
If you were the equivalent of a neutron star, which is only the nucleus and the electrons compressed, you would fit on the point of a pin. So when you really get down to what you're made out of, the total electronic, the total state of you is on the point of a pin. James S. McDonald actually had an institute to study paranormal psychology. That's why his airplanes were named Banshee and Phantom. He was an Irishman who was Scotsman, very much interested in the spiritual world and the paranormal. And he had part of his research department working with a foundation he had to study the paranormal. And the great Randy, the magician, infiltrated his organization and actually for about 6 months did sleight of hand experiments to get him tied to this, that there was something really there, and then he discredited him. The head of the research department would not even talk about anything related to this. In fact, the guy in Ann Arbor that had the zero-point energy machine actually came to McDonnell Douglas. He and a couple of his partners came in. They were going to talk about this funny hydrogen motor that they had. And I got invited to the meeting. And about halfway through it, I just said, guys, you've got a zero-point energy machine. Why don't you admit it? And the head of the research department, who he thinks, quote, was discredited with Puthoff, when they...
He just name-dropped Hal Puthoff right there. He just name-dropped Hal Puthoff randomly in this as well. Hal Puthoff knows, guys. I'm 100% sure Hal Puthoff knows. And it goes to show how they just get discredited, right? And what he's going to explain here, too, is like literally the plot of Fallout, the show that just came out. They've got a free energy device, and they just shelve it because it can't make any money off of it because they're making too much money off of the competitors to free energy. Like, why is our world so messed up, man?
Randy did this, had the guards come in and escort them off the plant, because he was just so terrified of this. He thought it was pseudoscience, and I said, it's not pseudoscience, it's just beyond what we know right now.
Yeah, and this is the thing, guys. So, like, Terrence Howard's been getting attacked and discredited, and this is why you have to be very careful about what you say. Like, if what you say is not locked down by science, then you're going to get attacked. The reason why there hasn't been like 50 videos from scientists attacking me and trying to discredit me is because I'm right. And in fact, they will probably start trying to do it. But I've been very careful about what I say. And this is why I go to the physicists and the engineers. And Roy D. Herbert tells me repeatedly, like, make sure that what you say from the science is like 100% nailed down. Because when people start to try to discredit you, you're going to just clap back at them, right? This is why people can't say like, oh, Ashton's crazy about the ether, because I'm like literally explaining dark energy and dark matter. And if they come back at me, I say, okay, why doesn't it work? And then they're going to look stupid, right? And it's different because when you're a debunker, you can just make fake arguments. But when you're a real PhD and you are a scientist with multiple scientific papers, terrible logical arguments are going to get you completely discredited and blackballed in the academic community. Because people in the academic community can see through terrible, illogical arguments. If you're just some shit tier debunker, Redditor, or whatever, you can make up fake crap all day, right? Yeah, this is why they don't tie their real names. This is why a lot of them just remain anonymous, right? Because they don't want to get their real names tied to it. But real scientists, this is why they don't come after me. Because at the end of the day, they're questioning in the back of their mind, this guy might be right.
But anyway, Randy would always say, I can't measure it. And what I would say is I'm going to give him a ruler, and I'm going to say, now I want you to measure the diameter of an atom, or I want you to measure, what's the distance between quarks. And the answer is, well, that device isn't useful for doing that. So when he talks about radio instruments and electrodes and probes and says, well, I can't measure anything parapsychological, he may not know what is parapsychology. How do you measure it?
Yeah, so right away here, you can already say like, oh, I can't measure a scalar beam or a scalar wave, right? Well, yeah, because you don't have the right tool to measure it with. You know, you don't have you're not measuring gravity. So of course you're going to measure 0 EMF. Same ideas. I will go ahead and measure an atom. Here, take this ruler and measure an atom. You're going to go, well, I can't. Exactly, because you're not using the right measurement apparatus. And this is why when they start to come at me, when the scientists come at me and start saying, well, the ether is not real, then I say, well, what the fuck is a virtual particle? Where does that come from? What is dark energy? Go ahead and measure some dark energy for me. Go measure some dark matter for me, right? And this shuts them down immediately. This is why Sabine Hassenfelder, when she tried to clap at me and go, oh, you can't just add an extra dimension. Well, I just go, well, Kaluza Klein literally added a dimension, extra dimension. Tesla, Einstein, all Maxwell, all these people initially believed in an ether. It's not some crazy concept. It's like literally all the pioneers of modern physics as we know it and electrical engineering all believed in the ether until general relativity came around, and then we just moved away from it.
The only people that I know that have come close are the Russians and their parapsychology institutes, most of which are all now defunct. But they had some very interesting twins that they were doing experiments with, that they could find ways that they were measuring something was occurring between the two of them in their brains, so they could actually know what the other one was thinking. And it's utterly amazing as to the spectrum of electromagnetics that are going on inside the brain. The Russians have done a lot with what's called scalar waves and different spectrum electromagnetics within the brain, and they're convinced that you could explain parapsychology if you could ever find out what it is that you have to measure to prove that it's occurring.
You just drop scalar waves right there randomly? Okay. A lot of people argue your hemispheres, scalar interferometry. That's why you have two hemispheres of your brain. They're creating scalar waves, scalar interferometry potentially as well. So this actually allows us to unify gravity and electromagnetics as well as consciousness. Pretty cool.
But they just got to the edge of perhaps measuring something, but they really quite weren't sure what to do or how to do it. It's all based on physics, but maybe maybe it is scalar waves. If it's scalar waves, then you're in a whole nother avenue of physics, which are very controversial.
And this is the thing too, scalar waves are highly controversial, guys. And this is where, unfortunately for everybody else that's out there, I don't give a crap how controversial it is. I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing the ether back, even though it's super controversial. I'm bringing back scalar physics because honestly, just saying scalar physics is so fun. I love saying scalar physics. Scalar physics, scalar weapons sounds fucking awesome. So we're bringing it back. Scalar physics is coming back. I don't care if it's been discredited or whatever. Then we're just going to recredit it. We're going to bring it back into the mainstream. We will slap down every single physicist that we need to. Because once again, I'm looking at the answers. I'm looking at 2 + 2 = 4. So they want to come back to me and say 2 + 2 = 5. I'm just going to say prove it. I know it doesn't because I'm staring at it. Right here, it says right here on the paper, 2 + 2 = 2 + 2 here equals 4. We can see it right here. Look, here's the answer. Want to look at it? There it is. Right here. And I can even show them. Here you go. 2 + 2 = 4. Here it is, chat. Right there. You're seeing it. If you can explain this with standard Einstein physics and tell me how 2 + 2 = 5, I'm willing to listen. There it is.
I was very, very much into those. The difficulty with Tesla is that when he passed away, J. Edgar Hoover came in and confiscated almost everything. When his maid discovered him dead, she didn't discover him dead. She discovered 5 FBI agents in his room pilfering everything, and he was laying on the bed dead. His nephew sued the U.S. government and won back theoretically, all of his equipment, experiments, and records, there were theoretically 50 boxes. He got 45 of those in Belgrade. The other 5 are missing, and a whole bunch of stuff is missing. One of the guys did an experiment that he did in New Jersey, which was build a half-grounded antenna of a very unusual, a different configuration. Everyone said it wouldn't work. But in 1934, he met one of Tesla's assistants who worked with him in New Jersey, and he says, oh, well, you're hooking up wrong. You're hooking up like this. So in a rainstorm in Massachusetts, they hooked a little 10-watt receiver transmitter up, and the other guy went 50 miles away on the other side of a mountain. And in a rainstorm, they held a conversation over that antenna system without any noise, static, or anything else on it. We also found a record of a submarine that was in the Mediterranean in 1917, 1918, and Tesla in New Jersey put one of these antennas in the ocean, right off the coast and on the shore. And he's holding a conversation with the captain of the submarine. And one of the guys actually dug out of the Navy records the log of the submarine, and it essentially says, some idiot who's claiming he's in New Jersey talking to me must be absolutely crazy, because I know I'm 100 feet underwater and no one can be talking to me from New Jersey. And he had the matching language in his records, in his logbook, Tesla's logbook. So what was that?
Yeah, so basically Tesla was right, guys. I mean, now this doesn't mean that Tesla was right about everything, right? Because a lot of the people in the flat earth movement want to say, well, Tesla said that Einstein was an idiot, right? And this is where people get too tribal about it. Like, science is rarely a situation where people are all right or all wrong. Einstein was still a genius, man. Like, Einstein was still a genius, but Tesla was definitely right about the ether, and he was definitely right about scalar waves.
You know, people say, oh, it was an accident. It was a coincidence. It was an inversion of the Watt layer over here. You know, there are a lot of things we can't explain that people have actually done.
This also reminds me of the ether experiment that I posted last night or earlier today or whatever it was, where I found somebody recreate the experiment, and then they used a completely illogical argument to claim that, oh, it was because of the temperature. It's like, dude, correlation does not equal causation. You can't just be like, oh, I just decided that it was because of the temperature and got it to line up or whatever. Like, that's exactly what this reminded me of right here, where like somebody shows them something they can't explain, and then they just use some reductive reasoning to like figure out, to come up with some other explanation that like makes them feel good. Like, that's the exact same thing as the guy who tried to recreate the sawtooth experiment did. Exact same thing. He just didn't like the answer. He was proven wrong. He knew didn't think the experiment was going to work. It ended up working. And so then he goes debunk a route and just goes, oh, it's because of the temperature. Like, complete utter nonsense. Yeah, literal logical fallacies. Like, and it was kind of embarrassing when I read it. And I'm like, he comes to the conclusion he didn't want. And so then he just tries to come up with an explanation that doesn't prove it, because correlation does not equal causation. And then he just writes it off as that, which is just super lazy, not science.
Back when I was a young engineer at McDonald in the 60s, we routinely designed for the Air Force and the Navy airplanes that flew at Mach 4.5 and 6. The Vietnam War interfered with most of that, but we had running engines that would fly Mach 6 easily.
Running engines that would fly Mach 6 in the 60s. So what is that, chat? Like 8,000, 6,000 miles an hour?
We actually had tested engines that would fly the Mach 12 airplanes. In
Mach 12 in 1960s.
fact, in 1966, a fellow by the name of Bill Escher, he's still alive working for SAIC in Huntsville.
So SAIC is one I've got to look into, chat. SAIC. I'm also staring at an image here. Where is that image? Chat, where did I put it? God, I've got too many things now. Oh, right here. SAIC, guys. You guys want to see something fun? So he just said SAIC, right? Was working on some hypersonic Mach 12. Who are my UFOlogy followers? You guys are gonna love this. You're gonna wait, why can't I see it? Oh, why is this like so zoomed in? What does this say on the right over here? Holographic recording and nano fabrication via ultra-fast holographic 2-proton induced photopolymerization. I don't know exactly what that means, but this says SAIC right over here. And this says Sean M. Kirkpatrick. Well, that's interesting. Sean Kirkpatrick is in like the former head of the AARO, who tried to convince the world that the government's not hiding aliens and not hiding reverse engineered technology. 2000, he has a patent from SAIC that's got some pretty weird name on it that looks like, if I had to guess, this image right here looks like the Casimir effect or some kind of capacitor. And he's looking at a bunch of wave functions, and these other images here that I'm looking at right here look like these looks like some kind, like a lot of these are the same kind of, what do they call them? God damn it. Some interferometer experiments. Everything's always the interferometer experiments. And whenever I see holography, holograms, holographic stuff, this leads me to think about teleportation. Was this guy, was Sean Kirkpatrick literally linked to some of this technology? Look at this, guys. Sean Kirkpatrick, SAIC, 2000. Pretty weird, chat.
Had on a test stand an engine that...
I might send this to the AARO, guys. Should I troll the AARO and send them that image, that screenshot from Sean Kirkpatrick? Guys, we just like every time the government's like not responding to us, we just keep finding more damning information.
Now, we can't fly at Mach 8 in a wind tunnel, but we can duplicate the pressure and temperature that the engine would see if it were attached to an inlet, which is what he did. And he actually ran an engine that got within 5% of predicted performance of an airstream that duplicated Mach 8 conditions at about 120,000 feet. And it ran for about 20 minutes. That was all the air supply he had. 1966. And we were convinced we could build them then. What's fascinating is I got to see the X-33 a couple weeks ago. And they had this new breakthrough of this new shingle technology that allowed the inside of the airplane to be room temperature, cold, with these shingles that reflect the heat. They look exactly... They're a little bit thinner because they have a little bit better materials, but we built exactly the same structure in '65 and tested it to Mach 12 conditions. Almost the same standoffs, a little bit more elegant than what we had because they have a little more elegant materials these days. But we were convinced we could do it then. People laugh at you and say, well, no, you couldn't, or no, it's impossible, we're not going to do that because it's risky. But no, it wasn't risky, and yes, it could be done. All it takes is a dreamer. So can you imagine the Wright brothers?
All it takes is a dreamer. And yes, I probably will send that to the AARO. Also, I did send it to Skyfire News. So whoever sent that to me, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Pretty crazy.
If one was a lawyer and one was an accountant. Why are you going to build a stupid airplane for? It only carries one person. Who's going to buy it? What kind of profit margin are we going to get? God, we got 40% on bicycles. Why are we doing this for? Think of the liability. Everybody can sue us. It's a bad idea. Yeah, let's not do it.
He just explained why nobody's created free energy. It's not that simple. Like, just showing people how to do it, not enough. You got to commercialize it. You got to make money off of it. People say, why would it make an airplane if it can only hold one person? Well, because you're going to make an airplane that can hold more than one person. You've got to have a marketing strategy. You've got to have a way to sell it. You've got to have a price point. Like, business is not as simple as just inventing something.
As long as we have that opinion, we're stuck. What you have to say is, by gosh, it's something that no one's ever done before. Let's try it. If I were to look at...
I literally feel like this guy was just fucking talking to me today when he said that. It's like we've just got to try it. We got to try to make it work. Like other people have failed. Now it's our time to try. Like I feel like this is my purpose in life.
Since my first introduction to UFOs as a young lieutenant to today, I would say you have to look at, first of all, I believe there's a large number of covert projects that go on in the United States that none of us are ever aware of. And if you see some of those things, they probably bend your mind and they don't fit your conception of what an airplane or whatever it is. And so it seems to you to be a UFO. So I think maybe a large fraction of those are covert projects that we're doing or someone's doing that are earthbound and human beings, and if you really knew what was behind them, you would say, yes, I can see how that works. But then I think it's like Project Blue Book. There's this hardcore 10, 15% or 20% that don't fit any explanation other than the fact that the individuals, the beings that are in them and came here by way of a process that we're not familiar with.
Yeah, so I love what he's saying here, because he's like, look, there's all these projects out there. There's probably like most of the stuff we're seeing out there is us, but there's some percentage that we can't explain. That's even more complicated than apparently Mach 12 speeds and literal teleportation, like he just described wormholes.
That is time-space travel. And I firmly believe that some of those are like that. The history of the world has been that the wrong individual getting that information can use it for a lot of destructive things.
So he just also said that he believes that there's some non-human intelligence visiting. He didn't explain what it was from or where it was from or what the nature of it is. But what he just said right there, the wrong individual getting this information can do very destructive things. Guys, what have I been saying for 7 months, 8 months, however long? This technology is dangerous. It's a weapon. This is a situation where whoever has this technology can destroy the whole planet. Wow. Thank you very much, Devos. Appreciate you very much, man. Big ups. Huge donation. Thank you very much, sir. You've been following along forever. We are no doubt, in my mind, right over the target. Like, we are on the target. We've been playing darts, and we've just been nailing bullseye after bullseye after bullseye after bullseye. Like, literally, that's what's been happening in this investigation. To the point where, like, the government is, like, so far behind. Like, the agents that have been following us, trying to, like, get ahead of us, they must just be fucking exhausted. They must just be absolutely exhausted. Because we have just been relentlessly pushing the investigation forward. Relentlessly pushing it forward. And we just keep finding more and more and more and more proof, more corroborating evidence for everything that we've been pushing. The science, the cover-ups, the stuff about the plane, the conspiracy, all of it is being exposed. We're just putting it all out there. Thank you very much, D-Boss.
Not everyone would use it for the betterment. Almost anything you can think of can be turned around to be used as a weapon. And when you get into these kind of energy time transitions, whatever, and that's, I can't think of the best word. It's what Tom Bearden says, that they could be used to just wipe out whole segments of the population and the Earth, as well as
used to wipe out whole segments of the population and wipe out whole segments of the Earth. That's pretty scary, man. Like, this might be able to be used on a situation where, like, you could potentially spread a virus around, or you could just literally cause instant death in people, like Tesla's death ray. Pretty scary stuff, man.
They could be made to liberate us from all dependence on fossil fuels.
Yeah, the letter to Ashton is really starting to get a lot more credibility, right? Like, that letter to Ashton Forbes, like, the more we find out, the scarier that letter to Ashton Forbes is. And it starts to make sense because I haven't been silenced yet. And I've just been exposing the government's biggest, darkest secrets for 9 months straight. And I still haven't been silenced or got a phone call yet. I've got the AARO afraid to talk to me. The AARO is afraid to talk to Ashton Forbes. Honestly, it's just the funniest shit ever. Like, I have to laugh. I've got the government afraid.
Well, first of all, the ballistic missile defense system is probably a pipe dream in the sense that if what it's designed for is that you know where it's coming from. And when we had Russia, there was a 50-50 chance that you knew about where it would be coming from. With the rogue nations we have today, it's absolutely ludicrous. It's the guy who walks in with the briefcase with, remember that.
Okay. So somebody says this, it's no different than nuclear power, mutually assured. This is way different than nuclear power. Let me be 100% clear. This is in no way comparable to nuclear weapons. What we are talking about here is instant death and destruction on a scale that is 1,000,000 times more powerful than a nuclear weapon. 1,000,000 times more powerful. Nuclear weapons are literally obsolete in the face of this technology. We're talking about directed energy weapons that could destroy and blow up a nuke within 1 second of it lifting off the sky. We're talking about weapons that can be amplified to such a degree that they can destroy the whole planet with the push of a button. Now, I want you to listen to what he's about to say right here, because we're not afraid of a nation state. What this is afraid is that somebody can take a suitcase. A suicidal bomber can take a suitcase and blow up a whole country. A whole country. And I mean like blow it up like a crater. Or maybe even create a black hole that just destroys the whole planet with just a suitcase. That's what we're afraid of.
In the 50s, they built a nuclear warhead that fit inside a Sparrow, AIM-7 Sparrow, which has an 8-inch diameter body. And that was a 1/4 kiloton weapon. That'll fit inside any briefcase you can think of. Now, the guy may die carrying it, but he's going to die anyway, so what difference does it make?
See, so he says, like, the guy may die carrying it. He just said that we could fit a nuke into a suitcase, and this was like, what, in the 60s or 70s? That was 50, 60 years ago. If you could, this weapon can zap a nuke out of the sky. Imagine that you can have a briefcase weapon that's a scalar bomb that wipes out the whole western seaboard. One person with a suicidal one person. This is why they're covering up, guys. Like, the people that think that nuclear weapons are a threat, you need to completely reevaluate what you think a threat is. This is the biggest thing. I see so many people talking about nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are fucking obsolete. Obsolete. Completely irrelevant, not relevant at all to geopolitics. If you think nuclear weapons are a threat, you are living in a completely different time. Nuclear weapons were dropped 80 years ago. Most people aren't even alive when we dropped nuclear weapons and figured nuclear weapons out. This is like saying that somebody on a horse is a big threat to us. You would laugh if somebody on a horse came up to you, you'd run them over in your car. Like, nobody's afraid of somebody on a horse. Nobody should be afraid of a nuclear weapon on this planet. Nuclear weapons are not a threat in any way, shape, or form to any advanced. China, Russia, the United States, none of us are afraid of nuclear weapons. The weapons that we have are magnitudes more powerful.
I'm far more feared of that than...
And when I say destroy the whole planet, no, I'm not talking about the surface of the planet. I'm talking about destroying the whole planet. Like, kaboom, the whole planet's gone. Or like, the whole planet's gone into a black hole. Like, I'm talking about the entire destruction of the whole planet. So I just want to be 100% clear about that. That's how powerful these weapons are. Like, I'm talking about destroying the sun. I'm talking about creating a big bang or creating a black hole. Remember when people were freaking out about CERN creating black holes? I'm talking about creating a weapon that creates a black hole that destroys the entire planet. That's why they don't want to tell anybody about this technology. A, it's too destructive. B, people are going to freak the fuck out. People are freaking out about nuclear weapons and they're obsolete. Imagine if you start telling people that we can create a weapon that goes into a suitcase that will destroy the whole planet anytime we want. People are going to lose their minds.
If people can, if beings can travel in time-space, then anything we would put in orbit as a weapon would be like going against Genghis Khan with a firecracker. You know, it doesn't make sense. You know, when we talk about zero-point energy,
it's like going at Genghis Khan with a firecracker. Did you just hear what he said? It's like going at Genghis Khan with a firecracker. Perfect analogy, right? That's what a nuclear weapon is. You're taking your little firecracker, you're going at Genghis Khan, and he just runs you down, right? That's how, like, people, this is the thing that I keep trying to impress on people is how advanced this technology is. Just completely blows conventional weapons, completely blows nuclear weapons completely out of the water, completely obsolete. So that's what if you don't take anything else away from this, I want you to take that away from this discussion, is that the weapons in 2024 that we are talking about, obsolete nuclear weapons.
That means is that when everything comes down to rest, there's still energy left. It's like sea level in the ocean. And there is a constant flow of energy between matter and antimatter as it annihilates itself and recreates itself. It occurs in stars. All of these big star factories you see now with Hubble is a continual exchange of energy. And although the average is zero, that zero may be a pretty high level above nothing at all. And what Sakharov and some of the physicists said is that it's this level that creates the background for the universe to exist. There's a group of Russians that use...
That was great. And if you watch my clip, I moved some of the stuff around so it made more logical sense. But like, he just explained how the ether is the fabric of our universe, and that the underlying negative energy that we see out there is what allows everything to exist. That's why we have virtual particles bubbling into existence. It's coming from the ether. It's seeping through. Pop, 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 seeping through the ether.
Use that tube to repeat an experiment that Tesla ran in Colorado Springs. When he ran it, he actually he tapped so much energy that the electric energy flowed back through the wire and actually destroyed the power station at Colorado Springs. And when the Russians repeated it at Moscow Aviation Institute, they blew up the 1 megawatt power station at MAI. This was 1980. When I got involved in space again with Sandy McDonald and we started what eventually became National Aerospace Plane, I met a group of Russians over in England at a conference, and one of them had been involved in transmitting energy from an antenna on the ground to a satellite in orbit back down to Moscow with only about 10-15% losses. And he said the reason we can do this is this is a scalar wave projector, and here's what it uses. And he opens up his loose leaf binder and says, now you can't take any pictures of this or make any sketches, just look at it, and lo and behold, there's the tube I saw in Smiljan, Yugoslavia.
So basically he's talking about being able to beam energy and beam it back, and this is exactly what Lieutenant General Quast was saying in that one. I posted this presentation from Lieutenant General Steve Quast, and he talks about being able to beam energy into space. He's talking about this. He was talking about teleportation as well, and he just like had to backtrack as well because he gave too much information away. This is what they're talking about. We can beam energy at a distance. The only way that's possible is through scalar technology. And to the person earlier who said that nukes are not just obsolete, but they're a liability. Nukes are a liability. You shoot your nuke up and somebody shoots it with a directed energy weapon and it blows up on you. Like, I don't want us to have any nukes, not because I think we need to get rid of nukes, but because the nukes are going to blow us up. China's going to hit us with a space laser. It's going to blow the nuke up on us. We should definitely be getting rid of all of our nukes. They're obsolete.
And this was the antenna that what Caspar Weinberger was saying was the anti-ballistic missile thing. And he told me even then, he says, you know, if you ever go in the building, all you're going to see is an empty concrete building with a couple of cables because it's not.
He just explained directed energy weapons. The anti-ballistic missile thing is literally a directed energy weapon system. That's what he just described using scalar technology. I mean, he just described it. This was over 10 years ago. like probably 20 years ago, this interview.
Not an anti-ballistic missile radar, it's a scalar wave transmitter. And finally, when the DOD got in there, they found an empty concrete building with a couple of wires in it, and they said, oh, they pulled everything out. And Victor says it never was in there. So they actually, he claims he transmitted up to 10 megawatts of power from this station to satellite to Moscow, and got about 8.5 to 9 megawatts of power back received in Moscow.
What do you need? He's just literally describing scalar weaponry right there, guys. Literally describing scalar weapons. 20 years ago.
So they were on the verge of understanding how you do some of these unconventional things. But all of that is now gone. I don't know where he is. He lost his job. His institute disappeared. So a lot of that work just collapsed in the Soviet Union. That's the same tube that Tesla says he could transmit energy to Mars, the surface of Mars, and support a human colony, or to the surface of the moon. So once you break through that, and you actually do that, then just think of the whole. Then fuel doesn't become a problem anymore in orbit. You just use one of these tubes to generate the power directly to the right antenna, and you can fly to the moon, you can fly in orbit, you can do anything you want.
I mean, guys, you're just talking about transmitting power to a distance. We've definitely got the ability to transmit power around, no question. And then a great question here, honestly, by Patrick. Are you concerned about scaring people? Well, I mean, it's a scary world we live in. I'm just concerned about telling people the truth. So I want people to know what the threats are, not live in this false sense of security that we have, right? People are afraid of nuclear weapons, thinking that that's somehow scary. No, the stuff we've got is way scarier. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that I think that the logical conclusion of this is that we are going to destroy ourselves. We are going to destroy our whole civilization with this technology. I'm almost certain of it. So I know that doesn't make people feel good, but it's important that we have this conversation so that people realize what's at stake here. Like this UFO technology, exotic technology that we've got out there has the capability to destroy our entire civilization. And people should know that. They deserve to know that. And if we know that, maybe we can prevent it from happening. And at the end of the day, even if we do, then at least it's up to us. The choice is up to us. We determine our own fate, not some fucking people in suits in the military that dole out the technology to us as they think that we are ready for it. As Jake Chansley would say, the worst people in the world already have this technology. We trust them not to wipe us out. I trust us more than other people. So at the end of the day, we didn't destroy ourselves with nukes, so you know, we deserve this technology as well, in my opinion. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, Patrick.
I think it's like a lot of things. The people that, if there are a group of people in the world that have access to it, I don't think they know how to let go of it because they're afraid who's going to get their hands on it.
Right there, he just said it, right? This is what I've been saying for months, guys. The people that have access to this technology, they don't know how to let go of it. They don't know how to let the world have it because they're afraid that ISIS terrorists are going to get it. The Kim Jong-un's going to get it or whatever. Kim Jong-il, I don't even remember which one we're at. They're afraid that Iran's going to get it, right? They're afraid that the bad guys are going to get this technology. Well, you know what? I just took that choice away because I just told the whole world, and I've been telling the whole world for the last 9 months. So now, fuck them, right? We're just telling the whole world. That's just how it's going to play out. Because the reality is they got themselves stuck into this web of lies. And they screwed up when they filmed the MH370 videos. Because then I saw them. And I said, you know what? This is not getting put back in the box. So that's where we're at right now, right? You know, they were looking for a way to get it out there. And some of them probably do want it out there. And that's why they're, you know, letting me do this.
Even though there'd be tremendous benefit to mankind and getting us energy sources that we wouldn't have the problems we have with today. They're also worried about that somebody could take that same energy source and do the equivalent of what they did with the coal, of instead of blowing a hole inside, just obliterating the whole ship. It's like trying to describe Casper the friendly ghost.
Yeah, so like you just said there, you know, they're afraid it's going to destroy the whole planet. Absolutely, that's what they're afraid of. And I would disagree. I think that this technology has been around long enough that it could destroy the whole planet. That's one part of this investigation too, is that those MH370 videos were 10 years ago. So not only do I think it's advanced to the part where it can destroy the whole planet, I think that multiple countries have it now: Russia, China, the United States, and we are probably in like a Mexican standoff at this point, right? Nobody wants to use it because everybody can just blow up the world anytime they want. Sucks.
You
but
might see a cartoon of him, but you don't know how big he is. You don't know where his funding comes from. You don't know how many there are, because of the compartmentalization and the oath that people have to take. I mean, I know people today that worked on one of the things that I worked on, that if you asked them, do you recognize this name, they would, even if I can show it to you on the internet. There's some things that have come up recently on the internet where some of the stuff that I was associated with, their names are now on the internet. They would say, no, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so he just said, like, they will lie to you. They will gaslight you. They will do anything they can. If it gets onto the internet, they are going to use all the disinformation they can. They're going to lie about it, whatever. This is why we got them over the barrel with the MH370 videos. The videos got onto the internet. They lied about it. They planted fake VFX comparisons. They planted a fake cloud picture that they produced onto the internet. They did literally anything they could to hide those videos, and they failed. And we pulled more information than we could ever have pulled and found. And I developed a huge following, MH370X, all of you guys. And now we've just got them over a barrel, and they don't even know what to do anymore. They can't even come up with any more fake debunks, because at this point, it would be so suspicious to even come up with any more fake debunks. Well, that's what he just said there. He said that literally he had buddies of his who were caught out on the internet, and they just lie about it.
In their 70s now. But they still absolutely would never admit that they even know what you're talking about. So you don't know. You have no idea. But it's probably larger than you think.
Yeah, and he's basically just saying that, you know, this is why the AARO is ghosting us, right? The AARO got the call, said stop talking to this guy. I mean, we caught him. We caught him. The AARO is dead in the water, right? We caught them. They fucked up because they also responded saying they saw something and they wanted to know more about the videos. And now they have to say something, right? And if they lie to me, I'm going to expose the shit out of the AARO. If the AARO lies to me, I'm going to go to war against the AARO, and I will expose them. I have Sean Kirkpatrick. You just saw the clip, the thing I posted. We will dig up everything about Sean Kirkpatrick. We will dig up everything about his LLC. I will expose every fucking aspect of every one of these AARO motherfuckers if they try to lie to me. That's a promise. So I know you spooks are watching, you just heard what I said. Don't lie to me. Don't you dare try to gaslight me about the MH370 videos. We know they're real. So you better come back, and you better not try to lie to me about this shit.
And again, there's a reason for it, and that is you don't want people who would be hostile to you to know what it is you could do to them if they really caused a major catastrophe. Because if they knew that, you wouldn't prevent them from doing it. They would just do it another way. And that's the hard thing to do this today. I mean, who would ever think in Japan that a group of Japanese citizens, who are normally the most controlled individuals you've ever seen, would release sarin gas in their underground metropolitan train system?
Yeah, so he just did a really good analogy right there at the end, right? And this is the end of it, I think.
It just blew my mind that they did that.
So right at the end, he's like, look, even good people, even like Japanese people who are like the most laid back people ever, they'll still commit atrocities with the right technology and the right power, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so at the end of the day, They're afraid of this technology getting out there. And that's why they're going to do anything they can to prevent that from happening. This is why we've been kept in the dark for decades. This technology is not like just figured out in 2014. This technology has been out there for decades. And they've been advancing it in secret, and they've been hiding it to use it as a weapon because they think that only the United States military should have it. And this also explains why they did what they did to MH370. They were sending a message to our adversaries saying, this is what we have. We figured out teleportation technology. Like, imagine if you are Vladimir Putin and you see MH370 get zapped out of the sky by some fucking orbs. Like, every time you get on the plane, it could potentially be your last. If you've pissed off the United States government and they want to make you disappear, they're going to disappear your plane. You're never going to be seen again. And all the world's media is going to go out there and say, oh, yeah, the plane crashed. That pilot was an idiot. Vladimir Putin's pilot was a moron. He crashed the plane. And all the Western media is going to go, yep, it was his pilot was such an idiot. Couldn't believe he crashed. Like, look at the Iranian president. Iranian president gets shot down by a directed energy weapon with 4 governors on board. And they're just like, the weather was bad. You go check, there's no weather. It's just like the whole world's like, it was cloudy or something. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Of course they fucking zapped him out of the sky, man. He just shot a bunch of missiles at Israel. And then he gets shot down like a couple weeks later. Let's just say it how it is. We zapped the fucking Iranian president's helicopter out of the sky. That's what happened, guys. I'm just laying it out there. So, yeah, like that's why we did what we did to MH370. Because A, we're not going to let Russia and China have this technology. And B, we want to show them that they fuck around with us. It's game over instantly. It doesn't matter. It's not about scaring Russia. It's about scaring Vladimir Putin. So that Vladimir Putin's like, no, we are like, he realizes that he's our bitch. Like, we're just dog walking Vladimir Putin around because we fucking got some weapons that will zap his plane out of the sky anytime we want, any day we want. Right? That's, or, China, whatever his name is, right? Same diff. This is why, like, is it Z? What is China's prime minister? Or president? What do they have? God, I feel like an idiot. Oh, yeah. No, Z. This is why he's hugging Vladimir Putin. Because they're like, shit, dude. Next time I get on an airplane, the United States might just zap me away, right? Like, that would be it. That's all, folks. And like, you would never be able to convince the world that the United States did it either. Like, we would just send all our media to lie about it too. So, I mean, that's just the truth, man. Why do I think Putin doesn't have this? I think that he might have it, but our technology is way beyond them. When the Soviet Union fell apart, then the United States leapfrogged the shit out of Russia. Like, we leapfrogged way past them. And China is catching up. Why do you guys think that China is spending all this money in semiconductors? China's investing like $160 billion in semiconductor industry because they know that semiconductors are what allows this magical technology to happen. They know it. Like, they 100% figured it out. And I probably shouldn't be pissing off Russia because he might hit my plane with directed energy weapons. So I should probably not be pissing those guys off. For the record, Russia and China, if you guys are watching, like, I don't want to be at war with Russia and China. I think it's stupid. I think that with this kind of technology, we have to find a way to get world peace because otherwise we're literally going to destroy our whole planet. So please don't destroy my plane. I want to live for a while longer. Also, hey, man, I'm like exposing my own government. So, do me a solid and don't zap me out of the sky. I'd appreciate that. Anyway, guys, I was going to go over the teleportation protocol, but I'm wiped out. We went for way longer than I thought we were going to go tonight. The plan was only to stream for an hour tonight, and somehow we're pushing almost 3 hours. So, yeah, like, why do you guys think that China wants Taiwan, guys? It's a small island. Why do they care about Taiwan? Because Taiwan makes all the damn superconductor or semiconductors, superconductors, whatever. They're making all the most advanced microchips. That's why China wants Taiwan. That's probably why they hit them with a fucking earthquake weapon or whatever the shit went on. The 7.4 earthquake hits Taiwan. Buildings are falling down. I mean, I'm not saying that it was necessarily an earthquake weapon. I'm just saying, like, what would it look like? How would it look different if it was an earthquake weapon? That's all I'm saying. Okay, guys, this was a good live stream. Share the stream, get the word out to people because, again, I want people to know about the dangers of this kind of technology. And let's do another stream tomorrow night if I'm not too exhausted. and let's get into some of the scientific papers and do some more stuff. But this was an awesome one. Hope you guys appreciated it. And yeah, have a great night. Check out Crypto Alchemist, Bernie, that you see right here as well. He and Jeremy Reese have been digging into a lot of this stuff for a long time, and I just kind of came along and propelled it to the next level. So appreciate everybody who's come before, and thank you for everybody who is following tonight. Thank you, MH370X. If anything were to happen to me, I would want you guys to take the reins with this, you know, and take the information and push it forward, right? Like, we've got it all out there. So do what you guys need to do. Have a great night, everybody. Love you. Peace, everyone.
It's H370 until you do some research. Don't talk to me. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. Your opinion, it means squat to me. It's H370. Not all heroes wear capes. I wear glasses to see. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. The trolls hate seeing me succeed, but guess what?